Someone make it make sense.
Probably a couple.
Hello, squirrel friends of the world. How are y'all doing? Shout out to Flash, who was first in the chat. It looks like StreamYard has changed things again. What have they done? What have they done? The buttons all look weird. I wonder, have you guys heard anyone else mention that? Anyways, so long as it works, then we will carry on. So yes, we are here for part 3 of our installment here, pros and cons of the plea deal. And how does it affect the criminal justice system? Shout out to Frank's. Happy to see you as well. Love it. And as it turns out, I've had, so funny, the timing of it, right? This week, I've had like, I think 4 different calls from people inquiring, seeking legal representation post plea deal, like after the sentencing. And anyway, it's been really interesting and like that hadn't happened at all until this week. And I had like 4 of them this week, which is crazy. Need some Z's. Welcome. Also clicked on within 50 seconds. Does that mean you were on time? Is that what that means? Yeah. So also, what else did I have? Oh yeah. Something interesting here. I need to send Twiz's text. Y'all, I need an assistant to have that job and just send Twiz his special text every time. Also, while I'm thinking about it, in case you're listening, Amanda, aka Super Planner Girl, we love you. And for everybody, she had mentioned the last time, she had surgery today. She mentioned that in the chat. She had her surgery today. And so just send her all of the good vibes and positive thoughts that you have, that she has a quick recovery. She's in a lot of pain, last I heard, and I think a bit groggy. And hopefully she's home by now. Maybe I'll text her and see how she's doing. So anyway, sending Twiz a special text. But yeah, so really cool thing happened today at work though. Well, actually, I'll save that story. Because it's not just a story about today. It's like the whole week. But basically the summary of it is that I ended up writing portions. I proofread and edited, but I also wrote portions of a really lengthy sentencing memorandum that's going to be presented in federal court next week. So the judge, Judge Bell for the Middle District of North Carolina, will be reading that sentencing memorandum, and it will be used to determine this client's sentence. And I even wrote some of the argument. And anyway, it just amazing to have these opportunities. So what kind of surgery? She had her thyroid removed. So she has a gnarly scar. Welcome on in, Mary. So yeah, crazy great week though at the law firm. Hopefully you guys all had good weeks. And welcome on in, Dory, new squirrel friend in the chat, guys. Everybody say hi to Dory. Hi, Dory. We had a couple new squirrel friends join us last time, which was awesome and very exciting to see. And I know there's many of you guys too that are on replay crew, potentially due to time zones or what have you, because I see you guys comment and say, anyway, so shout out to all of y'all on replay crew. Notably, Iowa's often on replay crew, but specifically Miss Pottage had commented last time and said that she wakes up whenever we've just finished. And I said, those darn time zones. So shout out to Miss Pottage and everyone else who also watches on replay crew. We love you guys. And whenever you do watch this on replay, you'll hear your shout out. So there you go. Flash has been researching all week. That sounds like par off the course. So yeah, and hopefully Twiz will join us for some Twiz Reads if he's able to. Our new favorite segment here on the channel. So we're gonna carry on with our second scholarly article discussing the death penalty. So this one is called Leveraging Death. So sorry, not the death penalty, the plea deal. So the first one that we covered was just plea deals in general. This one is specifically plea deals with death. So and we covered last time we read like the intro. Oh, I need to zoom in. I need to zoom way in. Woo! Okay. So we read the intro, and what was really noteworthy, I will say real quick, is that what we learned from this last time was that this is going to be shocking, you guys, right? So far, prior to this study, which this was from 2013, I believe, prior to this, there had only been one study ever done on the death penalty and how it affects plea deals, but it was like a really botched study with a really small sample and full of problems, and that was the only one that's been done, which is just crazy, right? So Need Some Z says she had a root canal about a week ago, but back to the dentist tomorrow for cleaning. Okay, well, I hope your teeth are doing okay. I love nothing like coming from the dentist after having your teeth cleaned. I love that. It's like one of my favorite things. Your teeth always feel so smooth. So this is the intro. Again, we read this last time. Okay, so here's the table of contents, and we're going to just go through this. And who knows how long it will take us with these different installments to finish these, but I hope you guys are enjoying from the educational perspective. I think this is really important. And, however long it takes is how long it takes. We're going to get through all of the different things that I have planned because I think it's and there's a lot to learn here, I believe, as well. And to think about in terms of just the criminal justice system as a whole, All right. Plea bargaining is a crucial feature of our criminal justice system, as approximately 95% of convictions that occur within a year of arrest are obtained by guilty plea. Despite its current centrality, however, plea bargaining did not occur with any frequency until well into the 19th century. And actually, the previous article that we read said the same thing. And the Supreme Court did not specifically address its constitutionality until long after it was common practice in the criminal justice system. In Brady v. United States, the court reasoned that plea bargaining benefited both sides of the adversarial system and was, quote, inherent in the criminal law and its administration, end quote. The following year, in Santabello v. New York, the court defended the practice of plea bargaining, calling it an essential component of the administration of justice that was to be encouraged as long as it was properly administered, i.e., as long as pleas were intelligent and voluntary. In fact, one of the people who called me this week at the law firm said that their attorney accepted a plea deal without their knowledge or consent. So, yeah. Several years later, in Bordenkircher v. Hayes, the court endorsed prosecutorial threats of stiffer penalties when defendants refused to accept a plea offer. In fact, since its formal endorsement of plea bargaining, the court has been reluctant to regulate plea bargains, recently noting that hindsight and second guesses are inappropriate where a plea has been entered without a full trial. Most judges support the system of plea bargaining because it allows them to alleviate the need to schedule and hold on trial what are typically already overcrowded dockets. Prosecutors desire both the reduced caseload and assurance of a conviction from plea bargaining. Plea negotiations also allow prosecutors to strengthen their cases against co-defendants. Yeah, and we've talked a lot about this, right, with co-defendants, by offering certain defendants a plea arrangement in exchange for testimony against one or more co-defendants. This practice assures prosecutors at least one conviction while also enhancing the chances of a subsequent conviction. Defendants are allowed to avoid a more serious charge or sentence and, if represented by private counsel, avoid the cost of a trial. So on balance, the practice of plea bargaining is generally believed to be superior to trials due to reduced costs, improvements in the speed and efficiency of case processing, and increases in the certainty of convictions. The practice is not without its detractors, however, as legal academics and practitioners continue to debate its fairness and desirability. Critics of the plea bargaining system emphasize that it encourages prosecutors to overcharge at the start of the case in an effort to coerce defendants into accepting a plea, allows prosecutors to, quote, cure, end quote, defects in their cases by avoiding trial. Let me read that one again. Allows prosecutors to, quote, cure, unquote, defects in their cases by avoiding trial, and encourages defendants to plead guilty to crimes that they did not commit. Oh, there it is. Bam. There it is. And encourages defendants to plead guilty to crimes they did not commit. And, I'm covering the Shanna Gardner case and we need to get caught up on that. But, this is a great example, right? Because Henry Tenon, the alleged hitman, had a long rap sheet, right? They brought him in, they offered him a deal just to turn on, as always, right? With co-defendants, right? Tell us who hired you, right? Turn in Shanna Gardner and Mario, what's his face? Saldana. But anyway, Fernando Saldana is his last name. But, so I don't know, this was a couple months ago. There was a hearing that they had where he basically was like, that was a forced confession. None of that was true. And was basically, and like, it was like crazy. Like it was at the end of this hearing and he had no reason to speak. It was just sort of like they were about to like take him out of the courtroom. He just like blurted it out in front of the judge. Like, this was not And he also has, court appointed counsel who seems to just be kind of like how to say this, a shill. Is that the word for the prosecution? Because when he started saying these things, right, Henry Tenon, this co-defendant, the attorney was just basically like, shush, shush, shush. I know better. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Anyway, if you guys want it, it's crazy. But we covered it on one of the live streams recently for Shanna Gardner, and you guys can I'll check that out. I'm sure it's time-stamped. Crazy. So anyway, there you have what sounded like a coerced plea deal, right? And also a forced confession. So, yeah. Okay. A defendant who agrees to a plea bargain may also be required to relinquish certain constitutional and statutory rights in exchange for a negotiated plea. Opponents of plea bargaining also suggest that the practice allows defendants to avoid the appropriate punishment for their crimes as established by state legislature bodies, and that the practice heavily favors defendants with savvy lawyers, irrespective of the defendant's actual culpability. Also, claims of plea bargaining as a necessary and inevitable component of our criminal justice system have been challenged, as critics of plea bargaining point to jurisdictions that have experimented with partial or complete bans on the practice. I didn't even know there were jurisdictions that did that. That is interesting. Let's take a look at that footnote 18. Alaska's ban on plea bargaining. Shout out to Tonka, by the way, our squirrel friend in Alaska. It says, but here, noteworthy, right? Alaska's attempt to ban plea bargaining for the vast majority of cases. So it sounds like there's some jurisdictions that have tried it and none have been successful or able to maintain that. Here again, efforts to abolish plea bargaining. This was in Texas. Okay, so the debate over the promises and pitfalls of plea bargaining is perhaps most contentious in the context of the death penalty. Yet scholars have conducted very little research on the relationship between the death penalty and plea negotiations. Instead, they have focused the bulk of their attention on the examination of the possible deterrent effect of the death penalty on potential murderers. And as we know, it's not a deterrent, right? The article offers an empirical examination of the causal impact of the threat of the death penalty on the likelihood of parties reaching a plea agreement. Excellent. This type of inquiry is particularly relevant because the effect of the death penalty on plea bargaining is theoretically ambiguous. The threat of the death penalty may induce defendants who may not have otherwise accepted a plea agreement to plead to avoid the risk of possible execution. So the overall number of cases proceeding to trial is reduced. An opposite effect is plausible as well. Armed with the threat of the ultimate penalty, prosecutors may be less willing to offer capital defendants desirable plea bargains, if any bargain at all. So the number of cases going to trial may increase. So let me try to break that down. The threat of the death penalty may induce defendants who may not have otherwise accepted a plea agreement to avoid. Right, that makes sense. They don't want to die. So that reduces the number of cases going to trial, right? But an opposite effect is plausible as well. Armed with the threat of the ultimate penalty, prosecutors may be less willing to offer. So what they're saying is the opposite could also be true, right? Like, for example, prosecutors may not offer a plea deal or whatever, and proceed to trial because they can arm themselves with the threat, the ultimate penalty, right? That to me sort of seems like a political thing potentially. because as we know, the death penalty can only be handed down as a sentence by a jury, right? It is also possible. So the point being that it has to go to trial, right? If you're going to have a death penalty, like a death verdict, right? Wait, what was that? What was this part of the sentence here? Hold on. Oops. It is also possible that the death penalty will have no impact on the likelihood that a defendant accepts a plea bargain and will only impact the terms of the bargain. As two scholars have recently noted, opposing hypotheses about the effect of the death penalty on prosecutorial discretion have never been rigorously tested. Examining the impact of capital punishment on plea bargaining is important for several reasons. First, it helps inform our understanding of how sentencing law influences plea bargaining. Given the centrality of pleas for the disposition of criminal cases, studying how sentencing structure impacts the incentives of prosecutors and defendants in plea negotiations is important to our understanding of the criminal justice system. Absolutely. That's literally what I keep saying. Every time every one of these installments, right? I start out by saying, and I did tonight as well, literally this, right? This is important. It helps our understanding of the justice system. This is and they're saying the same thing. So now I'm going to take a break and see what you guys are saying in the chat and what all I have missed. Yeah, Needs and Z's is commenting on what I said a minute ago about somebody who called about a plea deal that was accepted without their knowledge or consent. Yeah, it's not legal, right? And that would be, if that's true, that would be one of the very rare circumstances where that could probably be withdrawn. Manifest injustice, right, is the standard once the sentence has been given. So So Mary says, if you want to see court transcripts, which trial are you talking about, Mary, that's not being streamed? I'm curious. What is it? Here's what I will say. If it's for a trial that is happening now, those transcripts are not available. In fact, if you guys remember from, like, just as a recent example, Karen Reed, right? Whenever they're trying to, if they're ever arguing or referencing something that was said the day before, for example, like, Jackson and Bryan arguing with each other or whatever, right? Or Alessi arguing with Bryan, outside the presence of the jury. And it's like, well, here's what you said yesterday. What they're doing is they're either going off of their memory and they're paraphrasing, or sometimes they would go back and like watch it on court TV or whatever, and then hear it and then try to again paraphrase it. Because in some jurisdictions, you can get what they call like a rough transcript, which means that like there's a rough transcript that is available like the next day, right? But it's really considered to be reliable because by rough, it's like rough. So because in order for a transcript of a trial to be like finalized, I think it takes like months after the trial is complete for that to happen. I remember, for example, in Kowalski v. J. Hatch, which was a civil trial in Florida, that came up, the whole thing about the transcripts came up a lot because, they have the court reporter, right? But then both sides, I believe, had like their own private person doing transcripts, like they're not court reporters, they're not hired by the court, but each side had like a private stenographer, if you will. And so one of the reasons, right, is because that was the only, they knew they were going to need to be referencing the transcript as the trial was ongoing, and that there would be disputes over what was accurate because of the fact that, again, you put the court reporter with the rough transcript, and in fact, it was a whole thing because it's like one side would say, here's what our stenographer got, right? And then the other side would be like, here's what ours got. And they were oftentimes completely different. Did any of you guys watch that trial? And do y'all remember how much that came up? It came up a ton. And then there was the expense because like there was something that happened towards the end where they needed the transcript or something overnight, but they needed a somewhat less rough version. And it was something like going to cost like thousands of dollars just to have like a very small portion, right? It wasn't like a full day, it was like a small portion. It was going to be like thousands of dollars to have it like rushed, completed. Anyway, do y'all remember that? So as far as a trial that is not being televised or aired or whatever, the only way to find out what's going on is from people who are there and what they report, because there's no way to get your hands on a transcript. Again, even for the parties involved, right? It's not really possible. Now, after the fact, Flash will be the best person to answer that question because he's reading transcripts all the freaking time. So, yeah, and I'm seeing what you guys are saying. Frank's is saying the same thing I was just saying there, that transcripts often aren't available until, yeah, they're really not available. Again, like not even to the parties. And I believe Twiz is here. Hi, Twiz.
Whoa, I can add myself to the stage. I have way too much. I can remove you from the stage. Oh, this is great.
Wow. Ultimate power.
That's just crazy.
Who got a new attorney, Flash? Flash says somebody got a new attorney. And there's Twiz in the chat. Hi, Twiz in the chat. I'm just still getting caught up. Let's see. Okay, Too Fast is here. Welcome, Too Fast. Also with a question. I have a question. Idaho Rule 32.1. Does that say sentencing cannot occur less than 70 days from guilty plea or verdict? Let's take a look. That's what we do here. We love the questions. Keep the questions coming, guys. And Twiz, you entertain our squirrel friends while I find this rule if you feel so inclined.
How do I do that?
I don't know. Sing a song. You want to sing a song?
No, I don't.
Oh. So are we talking about iCar? No, we're talking about not iCar. Let's see here. Let me try this one. So Mary, what trial was it? Did you let us know what trial it was that you're talking about here? Okay, so here we go. This is probably the right thing, huh? Too Fast? Okay. Okay, so contents of the pre-sentence investigation report. I can already kind of see where this might be going. Although, having said that, this does not mention an amount of time. So speaking of which, part of that huge pre-sentencing or sentencing memorandum that I was talking about, we'll have to talk about. I'll table that. I don't think this is the right thing that you were referencing Too Fast. Let's just see. Because this is the pre-sentencing report.
Mary, I kind of want to go to the post office and ask if I could ship weed just to see what they say.
Welcome on in, James, and thank you so much for being here.
Like, I feel like they should tell me no.
So Too Fast, you're gonna have to be more specific because there's a lot of Idaho Rules 32. There's like local rules. There's the Idaho criminal rules. There's the iCar. Like that's why I searched for literally what you stated previously, and this is clearly not the right thing. So you're gonna have to be more specific. And nonetheless, what you're referencing here with the discovery is also not the same. And this is Idaho criminal rule. This is Idaho criminal rule 32, and this does not mention. Let's see. Discovery. This doesn't even talk about pleas at all, I don't think. So this is about pre-sentence reports or PSIs. So now I will say the other thing though, right? During the colloquy, I've talked about this before, during the colloquy, Ann Taylor said that she felt like they had enough time to go through all the discovery and all the evidence, and Bryan Kohberger also said the same thing. And I commented on this before. I was like, that surprised me to hear Ann Taylor say that. When we actually went through the forms.
Well, the question was relevant evidence. Relevant. And she said yes.
Was it relevant? I mean, we went through we went through the forms prior to the hearing, and literally when I was going through the forms, I stopped at that part and I was like, I could see this being a sticking point where when they get to this question, it's like, no. But they said yes, but I didn't recall the relevant part. I mean, I understand why that could matter, but I don't know that it would matter in this particular situation. In a pleading, for example, or a motion to compel, or a request or a motion to continue, things like that. There's other times where the word relevant there I would hold more weight, but again, it's just so tough, right? Once you do the plea deal. Let's see. Is he waiving his rights for Anne to go over anything else? What do you mean by go over? I will say, because we've read this in one of the other live streams that when we were looking at it, in the interim between accepting a plea and a sentence being handed down, all the same obligations still apply, which means this. It means that the state is still required to turn over any new discovery. Like, in other words, it's not like everything just stops, right? So there could still be things happening in the background. So Anne could still be reviewing discovery if she feels so inclined. The state still has to comply and turn it, like, if that makes sense, right? It's not done until the sentence is handed down. So I don't know if that helps at all. And so there, Mary's saying that's the truck. Carroll County. Carroll County. Is that Carroll County as in Indiana? Too fast saying, will Anne make a motion to delay sentencing due to receiving another crap ton of discovery at the last minute? So let me, let's go one at a time here. So the discovery that you're referencing was prior to him accepting the plea. Right now, again, if there's more discovery that comes in, they have to still turn it over. But I don't think that's happened since the plea, because everything on the docket since the plea has been related to the plea, and there's not been that many filings at all. And so yeah, so that's one thing. So that's part one. The next thing I was going to say is that if, in fact, considering that discovery came in before the plea hearing, right? If in fact she felt like she needed more time, the time to ask for that deadline to be pushed out for sentencing would have been when they set the deadline, right? Like, in other words, because she would already, you see what I mean? Like, she would have had to ask for it then. Now, again, if new stuff comes in after that hearing and between then and sentencing, that's different. But that we've not seen anything happen of that nature, right? I think you're referencing, again, discovery that came in prior to the hearing. So if indeed she needed more time, she could have asked for that date to have been pushed out. I mean, they did discuss different dates, and he talked about going into August, didn't he, at the hearing? Do you remember, Twiz?
I don't think so.
I know they discussed, I mean, they gave a range, right? And what they ended up choosing was the earliest.
Maybe they just picked the earliest one.
Right. And so the thing is like, she could have asked if she needed more time. She could have asked for the, later option of the range, or even later than that, or what have you. Don't be done with your questions. I love your questions too fast. I just wish I could find the right rule that you're referencing, and maybe you've put it in the chat and I'm still catching up. So let's see here.
32.1.
Right. But okay, we're on that though. And it's not saying what. So Idaho Criminal Rule 32.1. Here it is. Idaho Criminal Rule 32. And then 0.1, I guess subsection, unless there's, let me see. Yeah, it would have to be subsection 1. So, I mean, literally that's, let's just read it just to be sure. Okay, content. This is it. A pre-sentence report may include an information of hearsay nature where the pre-sentence investigator believes the information is reliable. The court may consider material in the pre-sentence report that is inadmissible. I mean, as you can see, this just has nothing to do with. So I don't know. I mean,
Opie has been saying hi, but he's saying that no one can see him in chat.
Who?
Opie.
Oh, official. Oh, okay. Well, we love you, official. Sorry that you're being hidden. I mean, I'm searching again. 32. All of this says, I don't know what you're looking at too fast. Because
Does
the only
Too
other
Fast have a link?
The other option is the iCar, but the iCar is not at all the right one either. That's about contraband from the public. So I don't know. Yeah, a link? I mean, I've Googled it, but also I'm looking at what you are describing. So anywho, Needsomes has a question for you, Twiz.
I already answered
Oh, you
those
did.
while you were talking earlier.
Reading. Oh, Carroll County, Georgia. Thanks, Mary. Okay. Wow. Like, okay, here, let's just do this. Let's just do this. I want to just show you guys. Okay. I Googled Idaho Criminal Rule 32.1. And here's what it is. Pre-sentencing report. This is what we just read. Recommendations and confidentiality. As you can see, this link is purple because literally that's this, right? So that says pre-sentence investigations and reports. Then you have...
Yeah, but go up to the top and finish reading that AI thing because that's what he's talking about. I think.
This, I don't
Oh,
think...
no, it's not. Never mind.
Unless, what is this one? Now that's the local rules. Let's see if that bad request. This is what it does these days on Chrome. I don't know why. It just takes
32.1.
Trying to find
Google
this.
it.
There's no scroll left behind. And here's Miss Mojo Rising. Welcome on in. Happy to see you. Look, see, there you go. Too fast. Good questions. I agree. Okay, let's see if this is different. We got this going on. Well, so these are the local criminal rules. Now, okay, I don't know which this local to where, anyhow. Let's see, 32.1. It's still the pre-sentence report. What the heck? Pre-sentence report. So it's the same. Okay, now here is the 70 days. So this might be what Too Fast is referencing. The other ones didn't mention the 70 days. Okay, so let's take a look. Sentencing shall occur. This is if there's a pre-sentence report. You remember how they waived that? That's the whole thing. Because if they do the pre-sentence report, then sentencing will be pushed out, and it has to be because it takes time. Again, this was discussed with Lori Vallow as well. So this is only if there's a pre-sentence report. You remember when they were talking about in the hearing, like about, oh, sentencing, when are we going to have sentencing? The first thing they said was, they asked about the pre-sentence report. It's also called a pre-sentence investigation, right? And that was what Judge Hippler asked. And that's the reason why. And then they said, no, we're both sides were waiving it, right? Or what have you. So this would apply if, let's just say that Bryan Kohberger said, no, we're going to do a pre-sentence report. Okay. Then this would apply. Sentencing shall occur no less than 70 days following the entry of a guilty plea or a no contest plea or verdict of guilty. At that time that the court sets the date of sentencing, court will advise counsel and the probation office the dates of the pre-sentence. This is all about the pre-sentence report. So it just doesn't apply here because they waived it. Hopefully that definitely should answer your question Too Fast because, yeah. Should counsel or the probation office be unable to comply with the court specified dates, they shall notify the court and request a continuance of the sentencing. So what this means, right, is if they're doing the pre-sentence report and there's a delay and they're not going to be able to get the report finished in time, the point of the pre-sentence report is that's why it mentions probation, right? Because it goes with probation and they work together and they evaluate the defendant and they evaluate them and then they determine like this goes into it's a factor in sentencing, right? And for example, like with Ezra McCandless, her pre-sentencing investigation took like 3 or 4 months. So it's a really lengthy process. There's a lot involved. And so basically this is saying like, should you not be able to get it done by the sentencing date, you can request a continuance, right? But again, it doesn't apply here. So does that make sense, people?
Perfect sense.
Thanks, Twiz. Yes, I think I'm still a little bit behind in the chat, but yeah, I just read that part Too Fast about the 70 days. So it's right here. Can I zoom in? Here, let me just zoom in. Yeah. But it's only if there's a pre-sentencing report. DB, welcome. Happy to see you. Yeah, I didn't have AI on my Google search, so I don't know. But anyway, here it is. This is what you're talking about right here, and we just read it. Okay, yeah, I missed the pre-sentencing part. There you go. Yeah. Here's what I will say. If you were, guys, look, let me tell you why I searched the way I did, right? Don't rely on the AI. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Open up the link to go to wherever the rule is from, right? Whether it's a statute or whatever the case may be, go and because the thing is, it's entirely possible that AI, it may not be you too fast. It might be AI. AI might have left this part out. But if you actually go here, you can see, you know what I mean? So anyways, just, yeah, that's why I don't trust the AI. Probation does it with all inmates if with life set. Right. That's right. That's true. But again, you can waive the PSI. Lori Vallow did it and Bryan Kohberger did it. Made is about as much sense as cheesecake. Well, that doesn't sound like it made very much sense then, unless cheesecake really makes a lot of sense to you. And there's official. Yay, happy to see you. Okay, so there we go. Now we're caught up on the chat, caught up on the questions. Yeah, so this is all this is dealing with the probation and I mean it following, right, this whole thing, right, with the pre-sentence report. I mean, even subsection A says pre-sentencing report, right? Sentencing recommendations of confidentiality. And I went through a lot. It's so funny. I spent like 4 hours today, literally, for this sentencing memorandum for federal court that included a huge portion that was literally the PSI. I went through the entire PSI. Anyway, again, like I keep saying, table that because it's the whole thing. And you guys will probably be really interested to hear about that. So, okay, cool. So now we'll go back to the thing. Here we go. Yes, leveraging death. So Twiz, I do believe it might be your turn to do some reading, but we might want to take ourselves off the thing so it's bigger for the people. Make it bigger. Make it bigger. Like that.
Always.
Yeah, right. So, all right, I think we're right here. So I'll try to sort of highlight as you read for our friends.
Examining the impact of capital punishment on plea bargaining is important for several reasons. First, it helps inform our understanding of how sentencing laws influences plea bargaining, given the centrality of pleas for the disposition of criminal cases. Studying how sentencing structure impacts the incentives of prosecutors and defendants in plea negotiations is important to our understanding of the criminal justice system. Second, the use of death penalty as leverage in plea negotiations raises important legal and ethical issues. Defendants are typically required to waive important constitutional rights as a condition of the plea agreement. Many of these rights are considered crucial to the accurate determination of guilt and punishment at trial, so the absence of these protections may undermine our confidence in that determination. This may be of particular concern in the capital context because although defendants who plead guilty avoid the risk of execution, they still relieve very lengthy sentences, typically life imprisonment. The threat of death penalty has also induced innocent defendants to plead guilty and even falsely implicate others to avoid execution.
Yeah, that does not sound like justice to me, guys. God.
Not me either.
Yeah. Yup.
Finally, the study of the plea negotiation process in the capital context permits us to gain a better understanding of the financial and administrative costs of capital punishment to states and federal government. Capital trials are extremely expensive and they rarely reduce prison costs because of the infrequency of executions and the added expense associated with housing inmates on death row. The threat of capital punishment may result in substantial savings. However, if the threat of execution deters sufficient numbers of individuals from pursuing trial.
So what that is kind of saying, right, is like a benefit because of the fact that, like, we though it sucks, it cannot be understated that a lot of the reason why plea bargaining is crucial so that the system doesn't collapse has to do with the money, right? The money and the time, because the courts are overloaded, dockets are overloaded, right? And trials are expensive. And the most expensive thing of all, as we know, right, is a death penalty trial, right? We know that. And so essentially what they're saying is like, this would be another thing, right? That you would rather them, in a way, you'd almost rather in a way avoid having a death penalty trial and have them plead to life in prison because it's cheaper and the state can't, the government can't support it. Like if every death penalty, every defendant that was, let's see, if they were like charged with, or if the state was seeking the death penalty, right, for every defendant and they all went to trial, right, it's like that alone could maybe be enough to where it would like the whole thing would collapse, right? So anyway, just it's important to see that there are, how shall we say, I don't know if necessary evils is the right thing to say, but like there's no way around it, right? Like the system can't support everybody taking their case to trial, even though that, and it sucks that that's the case, but it is what it is because we have too many people and not enough gold. I don't know.
Too many criminals.
Too many criminals. Welcome, Leslie and Billy. Happy to see you. Okay, you want to keep going, Twiz? Or you want me to take over?
Sure. Where are we at? Part 1?
Yep.
Part 1 of the article discusses many of the unique aspects of plea bargaining in the capital context and how these factors cut both in favor and against successful plea negotiations. Part 2 describes the limited empirical research on the impact of the threat of the death penalty on plea bargaining and how certain weaknesses of that particular work undermine our ability to draw firm conclusions about the relationship between capital punishment and plea bargaining. This section also explains how the limitations of this prior research are avoided in the study conducted in this article using an originally constructed data set on capital charging and sentencing decisions in Georgia.
There you go, Mary. Shout to Georgia. Also Super Planner Girl, because she's also in Georgia. Okay.
SPG. Part 3 briefly outlines Georgia's modern capital punishments and life without the possibility of parole statutes. Part 4 describes... what? LWAP?
You didn't say LWAP.
Oh, my bad.
It's okay.
LWAP statutes. Part 4 describes the data collected on Georgia's capital charging and sentencing system that are used to analyze the impact of death penalty on plea negotiations. And Part 5 discusses the empirical strategy employed to analyze the data. Part 6 reports the results from various model specifications. According to these findings, my conservative estimate is that the threat of death penalty increases the likelihood of reaching a plea agreement by approximately 20 percentage points.
Wow.
In practical terms, the death penalty increases the plea bargaining rate from approximately 40 to 60%. In other words, the threat of capital punishment deters roughly 2 out of every 10 death notice defendants from pursuing a trial.
Let's pause there. Let's pause right there. Thank you, Twiz. Let's pause right there because that's literally like those numbers are really important. So 2 out of 10. The threat of capital punishment deters roughly 2 out of 10 death notice defendants from pursuing a trial. So yeah, I mean, there you go. And also, welcome to Truth Seeker. Happy to see you. And I'm just seeing what else. James used our command. Hi, LWAP. I'm so happy you're here. That's funny. That is funny. So yeah, we love Twiz Reads. Twiz Reads. We're so happy. Thank you, Twiz, for doing Twiz Reads because the people, we got to give the people what they want. The people want Twiz Reads.
I'm going to go with Judge Hippler on this. The people don't get what they want. Stop calling me.
Judge Hippler was like, please stop calling on my cell phone. Late night when you, what should it be?
Wanna kill BK.
There you go. Please stop calling on my cell phone.
Please let BK live another day.
I was literally just thinking that exact same thing. I was literally, Twiz. I was literally, you beat me to it. Good job. I know what is it? I know when that court phone rings. Anyway, that's what we do here. So Truth Seeker says now we know for sure Twiz can read.
It's AI.
Woo! That's hilarious. Yeah, good job, Twiz. Okay. I guess I'll take over here, give Twiz a little time to hang out in the chat. Part 7 discusses the implications of the findings for the administrative and financial costs of the death penalty. Based on the high costs associated with litigating a single capital trial and the rather modest ability of the death penalty to deter defendants from pursuing trial, capital punishment does not appear to be a cost-justified bargaining chip. Okay, so this is really important because cost risk analysis, as we always talk about, right? And it's like, look, for the people who are saying part of the benefit of the death, or if you're pro death penalty, right? Or one of the things that people will say, right, is that it's a deterrent. And the studies all show that that's not the case. But anyway, what they're saying is even if it were a deterrent, right, basically modest ability to be a deterrent, that the costs associated with litigating a capital trial, right, and the high costs and the modest ability of the death penalty to deter defendants from pursuing a capital trial, the capital punishment does not appear to be a cost-justified bargaining chip. And I would agree. Oh, wow. Look at this, guys. Plea bargaining in the shadow of death. Wow. All right. Bargaining incentives. In addition to the perceived increase in plea bargaining leverage resulting from the severity of the punishment, prosecutors typically enjoy huge advantages by merely seeking the death sentence. The primary purpose of death qualification during and that's a whole other thing, right? I'm sure they're going to discuss, because the voir dire and jury selection is completely different when you have to get a death qualified jury. But anyway, okay, so death qualification during voir dire is to remove jurors who unequivocally oppose the death penalty, or conversely, who believe that the death sentence is required in every homicide case. So they have to find a jury who doesn't have strong feelings either way, right? Although the Supreme Court has upheld the constitutionality of death qualified juries in the face of the claim that these juries placed defendants at an unfair risk of conviction, available evidence strongly suggests that death qualified juries are much more likely to convict the non-death qualified juries. And we know that has come up even in the filings in this case. We know that death qualified juries are much more likely to convict. So let's think about that, right? Because we know it's bifurcated. So if a death qualified jury is much more likely to convict, right, that's just even to get to a guilty verdict. And if they're more likely to convict, what does that say about what they're likely to do at sentencing? The death qualification process also permits prosecutors to identify jurors with mildly skeptical views of the death penalty or the criminal justice system in general, who may survive exclusion for cause and subsequently exercise their peremptory challenges to remove them from the jury. Second, seeking the death penalty substantially increases the defense's burden with very little increase, if any, in the government's burden by vastly expanding the defense attorney's role and the requisite skill set and financial resources. So we know a lot about that, right? All the duties that you have as death penalty counsel. The overwhelming majority of criminal defense attorneys, both in private practice and employed by the government, are routine negotiators of deals that permit their clients to avoid trial. Representation of a capitally charged client now possibly requires defense counsel to become serious investigators of a horrific crime, or at least coordinators of complex investigations, competent consumers and communicators of mental health and forensic science, and experts on complicated and constantly evolving specialized constitutional and statutory law. Prosecutors are well aware that many highly skilled trial lawyers will simply refuse to represent a capital defendant, and evidence suggests that capital defendants represented by court-appointed counsel are more likely to receive the death sentence and more likely to have their appeals denied, unless you have a stellar court-appointed counsel team like BK did. According to one scholar, there are many small communities that do not have surgeons, but that does not mean we allow chiropractors to do brain surgery in those communities. That's a good analogy. We do, however, let chiropractors with law degrees perform the equivalent of brain surgery in capital cases, and predictably the patient. I'm going to read that again. Wow. Let's read that again. All right.
That's pretty baller.
It's pretty baller. Quote, there are many small communities that do not have surgeons, but that does not mean that we allow chiropractors to do brain surgery in those communities. We do, however, let chiropractors with law degrees perform the equivalent of brain surgery in capital cases, and predictably, the patient often dies. Wow. Third, prosecutors generally understand that defense attorneys will adopt minimalist, risk-averse pretrial and litigation strategies and practices, focusing primarily on the penalty phase investigation. Literally, since day one, the goal, you're just trying to save the life, right? And in preparation and on preserving credibility at the penalty phase. So basically, though, and well, we know that's their job and that's their duty and on all that, right? That is their goal. They have from day one, it saved their life. I think the point they're going to be getting to here is, okay, like we want to save lives, but by doing that, right, they're unable to potentially focus as much as they could have on strategy during the guilt phase, right? In other words, it's like, what are we sacrificing here? Like, in other words, could there have been maybe a stronger defense in terms of the guilt phase? But because it's like we're all about saving lives, which it should be, let's not be killing the people, then, you know, that's the whole thing. I mean, when we've heard a ton about this, right? In this case. And again, that's what you do. It's all about the, that penalty phase, right? Has come up so much. Consequently, the risk of an acquittal, even in cases with genuine evidence. Whoa. Let me read this one again. Hold on. Consequently, the risk of an acquittal, even in cases with genuine evidentiary problems regarding guilt, is particularly low. What do you think about that, Twiz?
That is horse shit. That's what I think.
Yeah. Especially because, like, we knew and we have read, right? Death penalty qualified juries are much more likely to convict. These all would have been factors in considering for any defendant facing the death penalty, right? In terms of how the cost benefit analysis, like we keep saying, right? And the thing that sucks, right? Again, is like, I think if you weigh it out, unless you get lucky, like we've talked about before with a jury like the Karen Reed retrial jury, unless you get lucky like that, I think that you'd have to, if you really weigh it out with the cost benefits, unfortunately, given all of these factors, for example, that a death penalty qualified jury is way more likely to convict, even if there's genuine evidentiary problems, right? It's like, it's not taking a deal would be not the smartest thing to do, right? Because again, if the goal is to save the life. But again, the problem being, it shouldn't be that way in the first place. And as we know, you have a number of issues. If the government's case has genuine evidentiary issues, like, it just makes me sick to my stomach to think about, like, and that's literally, I think, what happened here, as you've heard me talk about, right? Where it's like, despite the genuine evidentiary issues, we have to take a plea deal, right? And again, the other thing being the problems with the jury, that they are more likely to convict, and that you can have a defendant who could be factually innocent, but because it's literally just the smart thing to do if you want to, yeah, you know what I mean? Like, again, when you cost risk analysis, not that those factors should be factors in the first place, but given that they are factors, right? Y'all see what I'm saying with that? So, okay. In fact, a national study of jurors who served on capital trials revealed that jurors were more likely to vote for the death sentence, when defense counsel's guilt phase and penalty phase presentations were logically inconsistent. The Supreme Court has also recognized that attorneys representing capital defendants face daunting challenges in developing trial strategies for guilt and penalty phases, and must strive at the guilt phase to avoid a counterproductive course. Finally, prosecutors recognize that judges at both the trial and appellate levels, especially elected judges, are less likely to require capital trials to strictly follow reliable procedure out of fear that prosecutors will publicly blame judges for losses based on legal technicalities. Yeah, like when you hear people say, oh, they got off on a technicality. Guys, we hear that all the fucking time. And it's like, it's so disturbing that people say it. It's like, oh my God.
Yeah, Bryan's technicality was he just wasn't there.
Okay, your turn, Twiz.
Oh, I hate this part. Bargaining disincentives.
What? It's
The
Twiz Reads.
Oh yeah, I forgot. The aforementioned advantages that prosecutors enjoy in seeking the death penalty would appear to increase the likelihood of a plea bargain. However, these advantages may be offset by forces pushing against compromise on both sides of the aisle. Both systemic and anecdotal evidence suggests systematic and anecdotal evidence
Mhm.
suggests that plea negotiations are most likely to occur when one, both parties perceive a similar expected probability of conviction. Two, the expected trial penalty is relatively small, i.e., low severity offenses. Three, the settlement discount offered by the government is substantial. Four, the defendant's risk aversion is high. Five, pretrial detention and court delays substantially increase opportunity costs for defendants. And six, the parties, particularly the defendant, will directly incur the full cost of litigation. But many of these features may be missing or substantially weakened in the majority of capital cases.
Mhm.
The central point of contention on a capital trial is not that the expected probability of conviction, approximately 90% of all murder trials result in conviction.
Wow.
Rather, it is the likelihood of death sentence or a sentence greater than statutory
Mhm.
minimum at the penalty phase, and perhaps even the expected likelihood of ultimately being executed.
Okay, good. Pause real quick. Pause real quick. Thank you, Twiz. So let's take a moment here. Approximately 90% of all murder trials result in a conviction. So literally what they're saying here is, again, their goal from the outset, if it's a death penalty case, the goal from the outset is not to focus on trying to get a not guilty verdict. This is sad, right? Essentially, it's like saying if you're a defendant and you're being faced with a death penalty, you're basically just supposed to just accept that you're going to get a guilty verdict. Why? Because 90% of murder trials result in conviction, right? It's like, never mind, actually, you see what I mean? Like, it's just so messed up. It's like, just accept that you're going to get convicted. And it's like, okay, well, if I do that, if I accept that I'm going to get convicted, oh, well, then yeah, I'm definitely going to get executed. You see what I mean?
It's crazy.
Okay, we can keep going, Twiz.
Juries wield enormous discretion on deciding whether to impose the death sentence, which is inherently a subjective enterprise.
Absolutely fucking is.
Rigorous examinations of jury sentencing patterns are unable to identify any meaningful, i.e., legally legitimate defendant or crime characteristics that
Okay.
consistently distinguish cases that receive the death penalty from cases that do not. This
Pause.
strong
Yes. Thank you, Twiz. Okay, we have to. Here's why I said pause, because we've covered all of the death penalty motions, right? And we've talked about this so much, right? The whole fucking thing. If it's a state that still has the death penalty, what do they talk about? It's narrowing the pool, and they use that language, the worst of the worst. And you guys know how I feel about those aggravating factors. I don't know which one I hate more: the hack, heinous, atrocious, and cruel, or the utter disregard. I mean, I hate them both equally. And again, and the other thing is they're redundant. They're redundant. So there's that as well. And when we went through all of that, we looked at all the case law and the words that would be used in the jury instructions. It is so offensive to me. Literally, it's like the jury instructions in the case law is like describes the most hideous evil monster. It's like that type of language, right? It's like it's beyond subjective. It's beyond subjective, and that's why part of the rightfully so issues raised by defense counsel, right, in a death penalty case is like, look, there's no way to objectively separate people out. Now, I think there's like, what was it that we just got decided? I think it was like maybe one objective way to do that would be like if you killed multiple people, right? Multiple victims. Because in terms of with Idaho, the multiple victims was like the only aggravator that I could see that seemed to be objective in terms of like, well, yeah, how many people, right? If you're going to have a way to distinguish, that at least is not subjective. That's objective, right? Was it one person? Was it 50 people? Whatever, right? But everything else is literally playing off of like emotion and fear, basically. And it's messed up. So, any thoughts on that, Twiz?
when you're making decisions based on emotion, it typically doesn't end very well.
Yeah, I would agree. 100%. I mean, even just the name. Imagine if you're on the jury, guys. Imagine if you're on the jury and you're and there's already been a guilty verdict, and now you're in the penalty phase, and the state's going to get up there and they're going to have to prove to the jury, right, at least one aggravating factor beyond a reasonable doubt. Even just to hear, listen, even just hearing the name of the aggravator before going into what does it mean. So if the state of Idaho is reading, here's the aggravators that we are offering you, and they're just naming them, and they get to, so if they say, okay, multiple victims, okay, heinous, atrocious, and cruel, right there already, heinous, atrocious, and cruel. That is literally, that's the hack aggravator. Like the name alone to me is enough to be like, that's eliciting emotion, that's eliciting fear, right? That's making people feel afraid. It's putting them in a completely different state of mind, in my opinion, than the way that they are used to during the guilt phase, where they're having to try, or at least endeavor to be objectively assessing the evidence. Also, for anyone who has not heard this before, everybody needs to know this is important. The rules of evidence do not apply during the sentencing phase. The rules of evidence do not apply during the sentencing phase in a death penalty case where it's bifurcated. Rules of evidence do not apply. So, all right. Ready, Twiz?
Nope. Where are we at?
Right here. This
strongly suggests that prosecutors and defendants in capital cases may significantly differ on their assessments of the expected trial sentence. As a result, prosecutors will only have imperfect information about a defendant's reservation price, i.e. the maximum plea sentence that the defendant would accept to avoid a trial, and might inadvertently make a plea offer exceeding that reservation price. While prosecutors may generally know the probability that a case would result in a plea bargain, they cannot accurately predict the actual result in specific cases. Nationally, only 1/3 of capital trials result in a death sentence, so a capital defendant may require a larger discount than what a prosecutor is willing to offer. This is important because prosecutors are concerned with more than just avoiding trials. They also care about fairness and reputation. No, they don't. And this may lead prosecutors to refuse to adjust plea offers in a manner that would avoid trial, even when prosecutors accurately assess the defendant's reservation price. Pressure from victims' family and the community may also factor into minimum plea and Pressure from victims' family and the community may also factor into the minimum plea a prosecutor is willing to offer.
If they consult with the victims.
I mean, in most cases, that's probably true.
Yeah, actually, I can give an example. Literally from today at work. I can literally give an example. I was CC'd on an email from, I don't remember if this was state or federal, but I was CC'd on the email from whoever it was that is in charge of all the things. And they were, basically what happened was, this is a case where Chris had offered that him and the defendant, the client, right, and with his attorney, Chris, they were accepting a plea deal or whatever, and they had been on the table, right, lingering, and right about to go to trial. It was about like going to go to trial soon, right? And like then the client decided he wanted to go ahead and try to, accept this deal. And so then there's the negotiation process, like we talked about, right? The negotiation process. And so now you don't have as much of that in a death penalty case, because again, in a death penalty case, if there's a plea, it's always going to be life without parole. It's never going to not be that, right? But this was not a death penalty case. So this was a situation where they might have been facing up to life in prison type of thing. But with a plea, there's some wiggle room in there. So basically, I read the whole thing, and like, basically I thought it was interesting because what they said was, so Chris laid out the terms. Here's what we want, da, 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 da. And literally the way that the, whoever it was, like the ADA or whatever, responded was, thank you, da, da, da. And literally what they said was, we're going to have to take some time to speak with the victim in this case and their family and talk it over with them. And then we will get back to you on in other words, they're not even responding to this plea at all. And in terms of what the defense is asking, they're not even saying anything about it at all until they've spoken with the victim in this case and their family first. And so I thought, well, look at, you know, how timely that, you know, these things occur in my new job, where it's like, yeah, good for you, right? Because that is what they do. And I also looked up the particular crimes or that this defendant is accused of and charged with. And you can see when I looked at them, I could understand why this is a case where the victim is still alive. And so the victim will have, it was especially, I'll just say, appropriate that they speak with them for sure. So, okay. How you guys doing in the chat? I think did I see Kane pop up? Kane. Also, let's take a little break here, and I want to show you guys something. Let's see here. What am I looking for? Oh, I'm looking for this. Okay, so I told you guys on the last live stream that we were going to use an actual example of a recent plea for actually, this is one of the people that called. Remember when I said there was like 4 people that called this week that took plea deals and were wanting someone to like help them get it reversed, like after the sentencing, right? Okay. So, okay, you guys are gonna get a kick out of this. So this was the first of the 4 that called, and this is blank, obviously, for obvious reasons, but we're going to talk about what they were given as for their plea deal, okay? So this was like on Tuesday, right? This person had a family member that called on their behalf because they're incarcerated, and they were like, yeah, like the family member said, we think that there was some whatever they thought they wanted to take a look and see if there's any issues, and of course the family member doesn't know that it would have to be a manifest injustice is the standard. They don't know that yet, they don't understand that part, right? But nonetheless, they called the law firm. So this is what the transcript of plea looks like in North Carolina. So a lot of this is going to be similar, right? Are you able to see in here? Has your attorney explained to you that you have a right to be physically present for the plea? Do you understand? Let me zoom in. Do you understand that by agreeing to participate in this proceeding, you're giving up your right to be present? Oh, that's if you're like over Zoom or something. Do you now waive your right to be present? Da, da, da. Oh, sorry. These only apply, like, this might have been from like when COVID was going on. I don't know. Video transmission. So let's keep going. Okay, so this is the regular colloquy questions, rather, right? Right to remain silent, da, da, da. What grade level can you read and write? Are you on drugs? Have your charges been explained by the lawyer? All this is pretty standard fare, right?
I want to check the Alfred box.
Did you see that already? Oh, yeah, there it is. Right. I meant to read that. Yeah, because Alfred is from North Carolina case law, by the way. The undersigned judge, having addressed the defendant personally in open court, finds that the defendant, 1, was duly sworn or affirmed, 2, entered a plea of, and then here's the options for North Carolina: guilty. Ooh, whoa. Let's not check. Let me check the box. I was trying to highlight it. Guilty pursuant to Alfred. No contest. So those are the options: guilty pursuant to Alfred, or no contest. And then offered the following answers.
Where's the not guilty box?
Right, I know. Unfortunately, not an option there.
I feel like this is rigged against me.
Do you understand that following a plea of guilty or no contest, there are limitations on your right to appeal? Okay, now here's what this looks like. Okay, so do you understand that you're pleading, and then you check the box, and then here's what it has. Here's the pleas, and I'm not going to show you guys for obvious reasons the one that I will be able to see it, but you guys won't. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be reading the terms of that particular plea agreement while you guys can see the blank form, right? Because in my opinion, this person that called, or their family member, they got the plea deal of a fucking lifetime. After, let's just say, Katie McBanwell is always going to have the best one. Like that is the best of all time. I think Sarah Boone's deal that she was offered and turned down was maybe the second best. Anyway, the deal that, from what it looks like in this particular case, might be like third best. Like, wait till you guys hear the deal that this person got. You're going to be shocked. So you see here the pleas, so all the different offenses, right? And then you have the maximum punishment, right? So that's your sentencing range, right? So this is what they're pleading to. And then on the next page, you have, where is it? All the things that were dismissed, right? All the dismissals pursuant to the plea arrangement. So And we're going to go through some of this other stuff, but here's what I want. I want to go through it in order and I'm going to read the answers it won't give you any information about the person, right? It's just the charges. So here's I'm going to show you guys this form, right? And I'm going to pull up and read what this person pled to. Okay. You guys are going to love this. All right. So, okay. They pled to one count of the offense. The offense in North Carolina is called discharge weapon, occupied moving vehicle. So in other words, you discharged a weapon while you were in a moving vehicle. Okay.
He did a drive-by?
Apparently so. Okay. Nice. So one count of that, and the maximum punishment, 204 months. And then there's only two things that this person pled to. The second thing they pled to, one count of robbery with a dangerous weapon. Maximum punishment, 204 months. So let's do the math because I also know how long they're sentenced to. You guys are going to, I mean, they got a really good deal, in my opinion. So let's see, calculator, 204 divided by 12 is 17. So let's think about this, right? So 17. So in other words, the maximum punishment for each of those counts that they pled guilty to would be a maximum punishment of 17 years for each of them. So in other words, if they were given the maximum punishment for each of them, the judge could say, well, I'm going to run them concurrently, in which case they would be sentenced to 17 years. Or the judge could say, I'm going to run them consecutively, right? In which case you'd be looking at 34 years. So think about that. Keep that in your mind before I tell you guys how long they got, right? So looking at 204 months, you should be expecting either 17 years if they're run concurrently, or 34 years if they're run consecutively. And after I read you guys all the charges that were dismissed, I'm going to tell you guys the sentence. You're gonna love it. All right.
I bet it's like 6 months.
It's pretty. Wait till you see what all was dismissed. Okay. So now I'm going to scroll. Let me see what are you guys? Because I'm looking at something different. So I'm going to scroll now to the part where it says all the things that were dismissed, right? And I will just tell you what I'm about to read, y'all, is a really long list. Wait till you guys hear this. So first of all, I should note there were other co-defendants in this case. Okay. So now I'm going to read you guys all of the things that were dismissed for this particular person. Get ready. One count of possessing a stolen firearm. One count of assault with a deadly weapon with intent to kill. And then from another file, so this was like another instance of this, 2 counts of assault with a deadly weapon with the intent to kill. By the way, in North Carolina, you could face life in prison for 1 count of that. It's almost as bad as murder here. That we call it the alphabet assault. So but it keeps going. 1 count of conspiracy to commit murder. Okay. Then another instance, so a separate case file number here, 2 counts of conspiracy to commit murder. Then 1 count of attempted murder. And then a separate case file, separate instance, 2 counts of attempted murder. We're not done yet. Then we have 1 count of assault with a deadly weapon. And then again, a separate instance, 2 counts of assault with a deadly weapon. Then from another case file here. So in other words, these are all from different case files. So like this person had all these different charges that were all pending and they put them all into one thing. So this is crazy, right? So what might have happened is this person might have been charged with a number of these things and gotten out on bond and then committed more offenses and then got brought back in, right? And then now they've stacked all these up, right? But these are all dismissed. Okay. So then we have 1 count of assault with a deadly weapon, then another 2 counts of assault with a deadly weapon. Then we have 2 counts of larceny of a firearm, so stealing a firearm. And then we have another conspiracy, 1 count of conspiracy to commit robbery with a dangerous weapon. That is, let's count how many of those there are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So they dismissed 16 charges, all of which are more serious than the charges that they pled guilty to. And they pled guilty to 2 charges. So like you take any one of these, like just the assault with a deadly weapon with intent to kill can get you life in prison in North Carolina. Okay. And they had 3 counts of that. And then 3 counts of conspiracy to commit murder. And then 3 counts of attempted murder. All of that dismissed. You guys, again, now just put it right now to put it into perspective. Let me remind you guys what they actually pled guilty to. 1 count of discharging a weapon in a moving vehicle and 1 count of robbery with a dangerous weapon. Those are the least serious of that entire rap sheet. Those are the least serious. And that's what they pled guilty to. Now wait till you hear the sentence. Okay. Remember, if they ran the sentencing guidelines concurrently, you'd be looking at 17 years. And then if they ran them consecutively, you'd be looking at 34 years. This person got 10 years. And I'm sure there's also time served. And so this person called seeking our law firm, either Chris or Scott, right, to represent them. Again, it was a family member, to represent them and to be like, this is a bullshit plea deal. First of all, sorry, this deal is incredible. And honestly, it makes me proud of North Carolina in this instance, because this deal is incredibly, I mean, really favors the defense. I mean, it's a really great deal. It goes, that's an understatement, right? But here's the thing. We couldn't, you remember how I said a few minutes ago that this particular case had co-defendants? So we couldn't take them on as a client. And here's why. Guess who represented the co-defendants in this case that had the more serious charges than this person did?
Your attorney.
That's right. So there was a conflict of interest. And so they were like laughing. They were like, oh my God. They're like, we know this dude. This dude was a co-defendant and we represented the other guys. And so, and they even were telling the story about how this dude, like, anyway. So yeah. So there you go. There you go, guys. So yeah, really proud of North Carolina for being super fair there. And let me see if there was anything else that was interesting to read you guys. I'm looking at the actual plea that this person took. They answered all the questions. And, do you enter where's the question here? Do you enter, where is it? Yeah. Do you enter this plea of your own free will and fully understand what you're doing? Yes. It's the whole thing. So, and actually, when this family member called me at the firm the other day, they were already 3 years into serving their sentence of this, apparently. And like, anyways, so they got it. So they got a great fucking deal, and they're still young. So, they're going to get out and still be in like their 30s, and, don't do it again. That's all I can say, because you're not going to get, this deal was crazy. That's what I can say. So there you go. All righty. Have I missed anything interesting in the chat? I'm sure I have. Let me just see what you guys. Yeah, some of you guys are reacting, I think, to that really great deal. Yeah, it was awesome. It was awesome. Mm-hmm. And that's the reason I wanted to bring that up, because first of all, it's crazy that I had 4 calls like that come in this very week when we've been talking about this, just the coincidence of that. But also, again, when we're talking about the whole thing with the plea deals, right? This is why it matters, right? Because again, in a death penalty case, the prosecutors have all the leverage, right? And again, if they plead guilty, they're not going to get anything less than life without parole. So like we read it earlier, actually Twiz read it earlier, right? If you're not in a capital case situation as a defendant, you're in a position where if the prosecutors or if the government is being fair, you could be offered a deal that is great for you. For example, that one we just read. For example, Sarah Boone, in other words, so for the reason I'm mentioning it is because there are times where plea deals work out the best for the defendant. Like that is the best option. And you actually, you won if you took that deal, right? You know what I mean? Like you came out ahead, you came out on top, that, however, I mean, in a death penalty case, that can't really ever happen. The prosecutor is always going to have the upper hand. You guys see what I'm saying? It's just different because, so the point being, it's actually part of the many ways that it's unfair is that the whole option of plea bargaining is way more from the get-go prejudicial in terms of being unfair and stacked against and unbalanced for a death penalty case versus a non-capital case, right? Because those defendants, like we just saw, actually have the option and the potential to negotiate themselves a really great deal that is in their favor. And you don't really have that option if it's a capital case. You see what I mean? It's like, it's just, they're starting out with like, I don't know, 1 leg instead of 2. I don't know. How do you say? Anyways, so, okay. Statutory minima in capital cases, typically life with or without the possibility of parole, also preclude prosecutors from offering substantial concessions, at least in the minds of many defendants. Prosecutors are also less willing to drop or reduce homicide charges because such actions are politically costly, so they often feel bound to dedicate resources to trying homicide cases, even with evidentiary problems. Again, we are well aware. Even plea offers of a life. Okay, so maybe it does happen. Okay, even plea offers of a life sentence with the possibility of parole. I would just. Okay, wait, sorry, I got ahead of myself. They're not talking about in death penalty cases. They're talking about in other cases. For example, if it's a capital case, but the max is LWOP because they don't have the death penalty, then if that's where you're at, if you're in a state like that, then the deal you would want to get is life with parole, right? So even plea offers of a life sentence with the possibility of parole may not be considered a meaningful concession relative to life without the possibility of parole in the current climate, in which determinate sentencing and truth in sentencing laws typically require inmates sentenced to life imprisonment to serve at least 25 years, and parole boards are increasingly reluctant to release inmates serving life sentences. As one scholar has explained, plea bargaining draws sustenance from the principles of the indeterminate sentence. So statutory minima and de facto determinate sentences, such as life means life, right, via extremely inactive parole boards, severely restrict the magnitude of a plea discount. Yeah. So what they're saying is when you've got these mandatory minimums or just de facto sentences, like again, like life means when it's just life means life, like in Florida. Again, the point being, even if it's not a death penalty case, you're still putting restrictions on the things that would make a plea bargain actually fair to the defendant. Like, you see what I mean? It's like okay, yeah, like in a death penalty case, it's like okay, yeah, so like you can only get LWOP. There you go. There's no other options. Or if it's like a life without parole is the max. It's like okay, well you're getting life with the possibility of parole, but like that may not happen for like 50 years, and that's if it happens. You know what I mean? So it's like again, comparing that type of thing to like what I just read in the example from the person that called, where it's like there's actual leverage on both sides, and there you can actually make a good deal as a defendant. So many capital defendants also suffer from substantial cognitive and emotional deficits and biases, and consequently are more likely to be risk-seeking or risk-neutral at best, and less likely to accept favorable plea bargains. As a result, defense counsel in capital cases must be particularly skillful with potential health issues affecting their clients. In fact, a recent study of federal habeas corpus actions discovered that client mental health issues continue to provide a strong basis for relief. Capital defendants are also more likely to be highly skeptical of their defense attorneys during plea negotiations, especially in situations when the defendant is a racial or ethnic minority and defense counsel is not. So that's important. So they're saying capital defendants, right, they might be highly skeptical of their defense attorneys, especially if they're like a racial minority. And that makes sense. I'm sure you guys know exactly why that makes sense. And in fact, I'm sure they will get to a statistic that says the ratio of how many more people that are in that, first of all, are being charged and tried, right, for anything really. But then if you look at your capital cases, you know, looking at the percentage in terms of race and ethnic minorities, and then how many of those plead, I think we can already see where that would probably be going. So unfortunately, pretrial detention, court delays, and litigation costs are much less of a concern for capital defense as well. Defendants charged with murder are the least likely to be released pending trial. So they have they're saying here 19%, right? They have the highest bail amounts, for example, represent the largest percentage of defendants with bail exceeding $50,000, and are decreasingly, over the past 20 years, likely to be granted pretrial release. In many jurisdictions, defendants charged with murder are non-bondable. Yeah, that's very true. Either through statute or practice, e.g., defendants lack the requisite financial resources to post bail. Yeah. Defense counsel has a strategic incentive to delay trial absent any strong claims of actual innocence. And the costs associated with defending a capital trial make it virtually impossible for defendants to finance their own defense. So the state must almost invariably declare them indigent and appoint counsel at the government's expense. Local prosecutors also avoid the burden of incurring the full cost of capital trials, particularly the substantial cost of error correction at the appellate level. Right. That's actually a really good point when it comes to all the things about the cost, right? Yeah, I didn't even put that together. Where if you plead and you waive all your appellate rights, guess what? The state saves, or the government saves more money again, right? Because they don't have to pay for your appeal.
Yeah, they do.
That's crazy. I mean, I hadn't even considered that part too. Yeah. So they're saving money on the trial. They're saying if it's a death penalty case, they're saving money all through the entire thing. But again, waiving your appeals is saving the government money, right? So, okay, Twiz, how about your turn?
Finally, there are a variety of additional reasons why prosecutors and defendants may not reach plea agreements in capital cases. The highly publicized nature of capital cases, relative to non capital cases, can increase the reluctance of defendants to admit their participation in the crime in open court.
Hang on, let's talk about that. That is another great point. What do you think about that, Twiz?
I don't know.
So we know that when a defendant accepts a plea deal, like we know they have to do it in open court, right? So the distinction here, right, is if it's televised or not. And you can see that, as we know, which cases are typically the cases that are televised. What do you think, Twiz? Like, how often do we see trials for, like, you know, petty larceny or what have you, right? What do we usually see? What trials?
Probably not very often unless they're like a famous person like Amanda Bynes or something.
Right. So typically all these cases that we follow are murder cases, right? You know, capital or what have you, whether you have the death penalty or not, but like that's the ones that are going to be televised and they're going to have cameras, right?
Yeah.
And so what they're saying is, this is a really interesting point, which is that if you've committed the worst type of crimes, for example, right, like murder, and therefore you're also more likely to have cameras there, and because you have to accept the plea, you have to do it in open court, right? What you as the defendant would know is literally the world is going to watch you say you did it. Versus, imagine if it's a place that doesn't have cameras. This is actually a really great point, right? Because of the shame. So, for example, if you're going to accept a plea deal for murder, but it's not a case that's being publicized or there's not cameras, you might be like, okay, whatever, right? You've got your family there, whatever. But it's like, think about the difference when you're like the whole world is watching and they're hearing you say you have to say you're pleading guilty, right? And the point being, again, it has to be an open court, right? So the distinction is open court that has cameras versus open court that doesn't have cameras, and the impact that could have on a defendant's decision, because they may not want to accept a plea deal because they don't want. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, and that is another great point. So, complicating matters is the fact that many prosecutors and judges, and even some capital statutes, do not permit defendants to enter Alford. Idaho, for example, doesn't, or no contest pleas in capital murder cases, but do allow such pleas in non-capital cases. Now, I don't know if Idaho allows for an Alford plea in a non-capital case, if anyone wants to look that up. But I know that they didn't allow it for death penalty cases. So, prosecutors
At all, or just in Bryan's case?
No, they don't allow it at all for death penalty, but I don't know if they allow it for other, non-capital cases. Yeah, let's just see here. Let me see.
Well, I just know that Bryan didn't take an Alfred. I don't know if it's not possible.
Yeah, I remember reading somewhere that they didn't. It was not an option for capital cases. Again, another reason why it's unfair from the get-go in every fucking way, right? In a death penalty case, it's wild because that option is not every state has it. It's not just Idaho, by the way, guys. Not every state really will utilize the Alford plea. And I don't know. Well, let's just see, like, in terms of for death penalty. Well, it's in this article, so I guess it has to be available. Can you take an Alford plea in death penalty case? Yeah, in some jurisdictions you can, and based on the North Carolina case law, but not in Idaho, is from what I recall. And technically, let me just be a little bit more thorough here. technically speaking, this is not a legislative thing, right? In other words, it's not like they're banned in certain jurisdictions or for certain cases or whatever, right? This is the U.S. case law, right? Because of North Carolina. So they're permissible and allowable in every jurisdiction and for every type of charge, okay? I think the distinction is really, is it that jurisdiction's practice to use it? And it's oftentimes that could depend on the judge. But also, there's going to be cases where, or certain charges where it just wouldn't come up in a plea deal, right? Like it would be a non-starter, as it were. Like when you're trying to have leverage, if you come in and you want to do like an alpha plea, the prosecution might just like get the fuck out of here. You know what I mean? So I think it just depends on a lot of different things. So prosecutors may also seek the death penalty against a particular defendant to extract information that may have been otherwise impossible to obtain. For example, the names of possible accomplices and additional victims by inducing the defendant's cooperation in exchange for a sentence reduction. Yeah, it happens all the fucking time.
Yeah, I didn't think about that one, dummies.
If the defendant refuses to cooperate, the prosecutor may be less likely to offer a favorable plea. Such cooperation may not be forthcoming in capital cases, both because of the high-profile nature of the cases and the severity of the potential penalties for possible co-defendants implicated by the defendants. Due to the influence of these competing incentives, that's the crux of the matter right there, competing incentives on plea bargaining dynamics in the capital context, coupled with the lower likelihood of pleas in murder cases in general, it is far from obvious what role capital punishment is playing in the plea negotiations in the aggregate. The empirical analysis of the influence of the threat of the death penalty on parties' propensity to reach a plea agreement assists in informing this debate. All right, your turn, Twiz. Prior research.
To date, only one study has attempted to systematically examine the impact of the death penalty on plea bargaining. Professor Ileana Kuzemko's study of the impact of death penalty on plea bargaining in New York State is the first study to examine whether the threat of the death penalty deters capital defendants from taking their cases to trial. After the reinstatement of the death penalty in 1995, several district attorneys from across New York's 62 counties have publicly announced their refusal to seek the death penalty in death-eligible murder cases, i.e. first-degree murder cases. The study used the reinstatement of the death penalty in 1995, coupled with these refusals to seek the death penalty, as a natural experiment to estimate the effect of the death penalty on plea bargaining.
Yeah. So remember when they were like, yeah, there's only been one study that's been done, and the study had like numerous gaping holes in it? You can see why. This is the study. This is the one study, guys. Do y'all see what I mean? Like, and again, this is where the politics is going to come in too, right? So for a certain DA to be like, I'm going to refuse to seek the death penalty, that's very different than like it being, either temporarily on hold or, completely banned altogether. And there's all the different mechanisms that go through the legislature. And we've talked about those at length on other live streams. But anyway, okay, let's keep going as to the study.
The study used the reinstatement of the death penalty in 1995, coupled with these refusals to seek the death penalty as a natural experiment to estimate the effect of death penalty on plea bargaining. I feel like I've read this before.
You did. I'm sorry.
The study identifies defendants who were arrested for first or second degree murder as the treatment group. That is the group of defendants potentially susceptible to the death penalty, and defendants who were arrested for burglary, forcible rape, or armed robbery as the control group, and compares these groups before and after the policy change. How do you unforcefully rape? Anyways,
I was thinking the exact same thing. That makes no sense. It's redundant.
The study concludes that the threat of the death penalty on New York did not increase defendants' overall propensity to plead guilty, but the death penalty did lead defendants to accept plea bargains with harsher terms. The approach taken in the study was sensible considering the available data on New York's capital charging and sentencing process, but several deficiencies with the data likely undermined the substantive conclusions. The first problem is the jurisdiction selected for the study, New York State.
Literally what I thought right at the top. Like when they said New York State, I was like, oh my God, yeah, they aren't kidding that the study is bullshit, right? Yeah. Okay, sorry.
Why does New York State matter?
They're going to tell you, I'm sure. Let's keep reading.
While it is understandable that New York was chosen because of the natural experiment conditions presented by the reinstatement of the death penalty, New York has a rather inactive death penalty when compared to many other jurisdictions with capital statutes.
Okay, that's point one. The list of reasons why I laughed about New York is very long. This is the first point. So they're trying to do a study, right, on the impact of what impact does the role of the plea bargain have on people pleading, right, in a capital case. And they're using a state that basically doesn't use the death penalty. You guys see why that's problematic from the get-go? It's an inactive. It's like, So we're gonna try to figure out how many people are taking these plea deals because they were faced with death, but like we don't really use the death penalty here. And remember when it listed before how like the percentage of the different prosecutors don't even seek the death penalty. How are you going to use that as a study? You have to be in a jurisdiction that is like death penalty heavy. You guys see what I'm saying? Like, this is just ridiculous. Also, welcome Donna Salamander. And if it's your first time here, which I think it might be, welcome to our new scroll friend. Everybody, lots of highs and hugs.
Donna's been here before.
Has Donna been here before? But welcome if you're new, and welcome back if you're not new. We're happy to see you. Very happy to see you. Okay, so let's keep going here.
Is that my turn?
Yeah.
For example, from 1995 through 2000, district attorneys in New York issued only 36 death notices on an average of 6 notices per year.
Wow.
Although New York averaged nearly 500 first and second degree murder arrests each year.
Yeah.
That's a lot of murders. What's up, New York? Furthermore, by the year 2000...
death penalty, right? That's the problem with the study.
Furthermore, by the year 2000, only 6 sat on death row in New York, and no executions have taken place since the death penalty was reinstated.
So essentially one of the worst states you could have chosen for the study. But anyway. Also, what did I miss here? Miss Mojo Rising, aka Shelly, because she's got her other account, has been a member for 1 month. Love it. Wonderful. Does somebody have a dinosaur die? I really hope that's not true. We love dinosaurs.
Mary had a fish pass away and she named it Dinosaur.
I'm sorry, Mary. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. Hugs to you. Do you want to keep reading, Twiz, or do you want me to take over?
Up to you.
Okay, I guess I'll read for a little bit here. So I'm gonna have to take this water. The second problem is that the study does not directly examine the impact the death penalty has on the bargaining process in cases that are actually noticed for the death penalty. So again, first problem is like, well, there's not really death penalty cases, first of all. Okay, that's the first problem. Second problem is that it doesn't examine the impact of the death penalty on the bargaining process, which is supposed to be the whole point of the study. That's like the reason the study was supposed to be done. The study posits that the effect of the death penalty may not be limited to defendants who are actually noticed for the death penalty because, quote, its specter may have encouraged some defendants to secure plea bargains after the DA merely mentioned a death sentence as a possibility, but before he actually issued a death notice. This assumption is problematic because it misrepresents actual capital charging dynamics. Yeah. DAs do not deem all first-degree murders as worthy of the death penalty. While the fact that a defendant is charged with first-degree murder under New York statute is sufficient to permit the prosecutor to seek the death sentence, the prosecutor's mere mention of the possibility of seeking the death penalty against a defendant is unlikely to be viewed as a credible threat because the death penalty is used so infrequently. Yeah, so basically, if you're in New York, it's an empty threat. In other states, it may not be an empty threat because if you're in Idaho, I would say be afraid, be very afraid.
They'll try to take you out back and shoot you
literally
that day,
Literally. Even in cases that are technically death eligible, It is more plausible that the defendant would wait until the prosecutor actually carried out her threat to seek the death penalty before agreeing to a plea bargain. In fact, defense counsel, who is typically a repeat player with the prosecutor, is likely to advise her client as to whether the prosecutor's threat is credible. So that's another thing. That's one of the reasons why Chris and Scott are awesome, the attorneys who I'm looking for, because what they're saying here is like when you're in one county, say, or whatever, right? It's like you all know each other, right? You're all familiar with it. In fact, it's really funny, right? Because Chris, his best friend for decades is literally the elected DA in Forsyth County. It's his best friend. And they are on a regular basis trying cases against each other. So anyway, but the point being is like if they are used to working with the prosecutors, just like with the judges, right? We always hear about that. It's like, oh, if you know the judge, you kind of know how they're going to rule. It's just like this. Like if these defense attorneys and prosecutors know each other, the defense attorneys might be able to be like, yeah, that's an empty threat. I can tell they're bluffing. You know what I mean? That type of thing. Random Girl is here. Welcome. Happy to see you. And with a $20 super sticker. Thank you so much. That is very generous. And I'm just so happy to see you because it's been a long time.
Thanks, Random Girl. Chelsea's gonna finally feed me.
No food for you, Twiz. You have to read how many more pages? 79 minus 22. You have to read, hold on. You have to read 79 minus 22. However many pages that is, you have to read all of those, and then you might get
57. Jesus Christ, I thought you were a college graduate.
57 pages, and then you might get a yogurt. Just kidding.
At least it's a full yogurt.
For anyone who doesn't know, Twiz loves his yogurts. So
I didn't have any yogurt today.
Why not?
I bought breakfast sandwiches or whatever, so I just didn't feel like it.
Did you have any goldfish?
No, I haven't had goldfish in a while.
Did you have any cheese?
Cheese. I guess on my mashed potatoes and chicken.
Was
There's
that
some
dinner?
cheese on that. I mean, I had it for lunch, but...
Had it for lunch. Did you have any ice cream?
No.
Always was after midnight. Yeah, there was that time where you...
Chelsea won't even get that reference.
Is that a reference to something?
Yes.
Well, I just remember there's that one live stream where Twiz was in the chat and it was weighing a very, I think Meg P was there. I'm trying to remember who else was there. You had a very tough decision to make. It was like you had like one yogurt left and it was like, I'm hungry now. Do I eat it now or do I save it for breakfast? Do you remember that, Twiz? We spent like a really long time trying to find solutions for you. I remember we were even looking up like, is there any store that's open now that you could go and get another one? Do you remember that?
Oh yeah.
It's quite the dilemma.
Wasn't Meg like trying to get me to like DoorDash or something?
Yeah, we were trying to consider all the options so that you could have a yogurt for when you were hungry in the moment, and it was like a late night snack situation, but also still have your breakfast. And you're trying to figure out a way to solve your problem. Anyways, but it's not from that apparently. That's what I thought the reference was. Awesome. Yes. Also, by the way, for anyone who doesn't know, Twiz also loves Led Zeppelin.
Facts.
So, alrighty, where were we here? Okay, the study also implausibly assumes without evidence that district attorneys or defense counsel actually mention the possibility of the death sentence in all cases where an indictment for first-degree murder is obtained. This is especially unlikely because capital defendants are permitted to accept plea bargains, allowing them to avoid the death sentence after their cases are noticed for the death penalty, but they do not enjoy a constitutional right to withdraw guilty pleas in capital cases when the pleas were made voluntarily and knowingly. So this is another imbalance in leverage here, right? Because let's see. Right, because they can't withdraw the pleas, right? And we've talked a lot about this and how there's a very narrow options and the different stages of that. For anyone who has missed it, that was on part 1 of this series, and I'm sure I timestamped it. And I timestamped it by like where are we in the phase? Like, is it like right before the plea? Is like right when you plea, and then the period before sentencing, and then after sentencing, And we went through all that, and actually shout out to Too Fast for Pleas, who I think was asking questions, which prompted us to deep dive into that. And that's where we learned about the manifest injustice and whatnot. So nearly all death penalty jurisdictions, including New York, permit capital defendants to accept plea bargains up until the penalty phase of their capital trials. Ah, that's interesting. So what this is saying is this: wow, that you could go to trial still, right? And you could be found guilty, and then like up until the penalty phase where you actually go before the jury, you could still, like, not saying the prosecution would do it, but in other words, it's still allowable that you could accept a plea deal. That's surprising, right, Twiz?
It sure is.
Especially because part of the whole point, if you're the government trying to save money, is to stop the trial from happening, right? Like, this is, surprising. Like, why not take it to trial on it?
Justice shouldn't be about money.
I agree. What was it I said
That's
earlier?
just crazy.
We need more gold so we can give everyone a fair trial that wants one. I was just picturing gold like in the olden days, right? Like when all the people were out there with the gold, mining for gold and whatnot. You know? Because isn't that like how like the US first started to kind of have like resources? You know?
Yeah.
Somebody knows. Good night, Too Fast. Thank you for being here.
Everything about it is crazy.
Yes. By the way, is there anyone who has not seen the movie? Oh my God, There Will Be Blood. Has anyone not seen that movie?
I don't think I have.
Oh my God, Twiz. Oh my God. Oh my God. What on earth?
Yeah, pretty sure I haven't seen that.
Another one that's a must see is Gangs of New York. In terms of just like Gangs of New York, I think even more so. That's like the story of the freaking country. Like, and you know, funny thing too, right? Both of those movies star right. Daniel Day-Lewis, okay, is in both, and he's my favorite actor. And
I think we've talked about this before, actually.
I think we have. Twiz, have you seen Gangs of New York?
Nope.
Oh my God. Wow. Yeah, so we need to fix that somehow. So the Too Fast is going to bed. We love you, Too Fast. Yeah, so to the movies that I think are must-sees for everybody because they're really important for a lot of reasons in terms of just like they're based on, well, both of them are based on actual history, but also they're just phenomenal fucking movies. So Gangs of New York.
And Inception.
Gangs of New York stars also Leonardo DiCaprio and Daniel Day-Lewis. Gangs of New York and There Will Be Blood. Everybody should see. And Twins' favorite movie is Inception. Which I don't know teaches us so much about the foundations of how this country got going with, for better or for worse, politics and the government and corruption. Like how did all that, like all the how?
Well, listen, I'm convinced Inception is real. Okay.
There it is. So he's making the case for Inception being equally as important as a movie. Okay. Enter the Void. I think I've heard of that one. Have you seen that one, Twiz?
I don't think so. It doesn't sound familiar. Inception and The Dark Knight and Law Abiding Citizen and Bullet Train.
I knew you were going to say Bullet. I was literally waiting for you to say Bullet Train. I also love The Dark Knight. Very good. Inception. You guys are funny. So, okay. Yes. So, right. That's so crazy, though. They can still... As mentioned, Supra, the majority of the 36 death notices in the study were withdrawn after plea bargains were reached. Therefore, if the assumption that the mere possibility of it, so that's the thing. They're saying, so as soon as they were like, hey, we're going to seek the death penalty, then it's like, okay, we're pleading. Therefore, if the assumption that the mere possibility of a death notice influences defendant's plea calculus is incorrect, then the study's treatment group includes defendants who are not impacted by the possible threat of the death penalty, and the treatment effect will be biased towards zero because of the systematic measurement error. Stated differently, the treatment group will actually contain individuals who should be either in the control group or entirely excluded from the analysis. Yeah. The New York State study defends this approach by categorizing its estimates as intent to treat measures rather than the conventional estimates of average treatment effect or average treatment effect on the treated. Remember, that's the group that's the death penalty eligible group or whatever. The ITT is one of a number of possible parameters of interest and may not always be of greatest scientific or policy relevance. It measures the effect of the treatment assignment, but not the effect of the treatment itself. But it is questionable that the study's estimates can be accurately characterized as intent to treat estimates because of the reasons previously stated. 1, prosecutors do not deem all death eligible cases as death worthy. Interesting. 2, not all death eligible defendants or their counsel believe their cases are at risk of further death penalty. That would be like if you think the prosecution is like not going to seek it or whatever, even though they, like by statute, they could. And 3, prosecutors do not threaten the death penalty in all or even the vast majority of death eligible cases. Furthermore, the study does not alleviate this concern because it does not distinguish cases in which a threat was ever mentioned from the larger group of defendants indicted for first-degree murder. Problems of systematic measurement error notwithstanding, scholars have repeatedly remarked that the ATT is both easier to identify and likely to be more theoretically informative because it describes the impact of the treatment only among the units who are actually exposed to it. Formally, assuming some selection as observables, there's some things there, letters and numbers, denote the 2 potential outcomes under treatment and control conditions, respectively. X indicates observable. Okay, I don't think we need to do all this with the calculation. Okay, the New York State study should be applauded for highlighting this gap in literature, making an important empirical contribution to the existing debate. Although the limitations of the data partly undermine the reliability and generalizability of the conclusions that were reached. A significant improvement on that seminal study would entail several modifications. So here's where they're going to say, here's how we would improve this study, okay? First, it would examine a jurisdiction. Yeah, first and foremost, examine a jurisdiction that more actively pursues the death penalty. I mean, obviously, right? With respect to both sentencing, that more actively pursue, with both sentencing individuals to death and carrying out the executions. Second, the study would directly examine the actual treatment effects and not merely intent to treat effects. In fact, prior research has appropriately defined the treatment effect of the death penalty as the government's decision to file a death notice that formally announces the state's intention to seek a death sentence. Finally, it would control for a wider range of case factors relevant to charging and plea bargaining decisions. The present study incorporates all of these improvements. So they're saying in this study, the one we're reading right here, they're saying we've done all of these things that we just mentioned by analyzing a rich data set from Georgia, which is better suited to test this hypothesis. Awesome. Welcome, Kane. Gold is now legal tender again. There you go. See? Gold. Songs about gold. There's that one from
She ain't nothing but a gold digger.
There you go. Yeah. There's the one from Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. You guys remember that one?
Or she's a gold digging whore.
Is that a song?
It is. It's so good.
Wow.
She's a gold digger. She's a gold digger.
There's also that.
Watch your pockets get bigger and bigger.
There's also that one. What is it?
GOLDDIGGINGWHORE.
Twiz has become a cheerleader, guys. Apparently.
Oh, we'll listen to it later. It's fine. It's a good song.
Yeah, I'll only get my channel just taken down. Sure, that's worth it. Not. And then now we're on to chapter 3, Georgia's death penalty. This might be a good stopping point because we are making our way through this, and it is quite a lot. You know what I mean? Like,
well, we only have 56 more pages to go.
Right? I know. Yeah. So, I have another thing.
Listen, it's Friday night. We're marathoning it. We're not ending till the freaking book is done.
10 years later. All right, Georgia's death penalty. So Mary and Super Planner Girl and any other squirrels who are Georgia squirrels, where it's this is y'all state here. Georgia, what are they? The Peach State? What is their motto thing? Peach State? No. What is it?
I think
Florida,
that's it.
all I can think about is Florida's the Sunshine State. I don't even know what North Carolina is, honestly. What is North Carolina? I don't know. The Alfred Police State. I just made that up. That's not a thing. Most people don't know that or care that live in North Carolina. I'm proud of it.
I mean, is it like what they put on their license plates? I don't know.
Yeah, you know, the little slogans, what have you.
I don't see a lot of North Carolina plates.
What is the Washington one?
Probably something about apples.
Oh, really? Oh. Huh. The Apple State. How do you like them apples?
Love them.
Apples or oranges?
Oranges for sure.
Do you like oranges better than apples, really?
For sure.
Really? Wow. Well, what type of apples are we talking? Because that matters.
I mean, it kind of does matter, but oranges are still cooler.
That's right. Thank you, Miss Mojo. Yes, the Palmetto State. That's the other one I knew. Yeah, you're right. The Palmetto State. The only ones I know for sure that we are saying that are correct are the Sunshine State and the Palmetto State. Other than that, I don't think I know any of them for real. We're just.
I'll be right back.
Okay, Twiz. So, oh, Mary, did you? Oh, you are the Peach State. Okay, so that was a lucky guess, I suppose. Pear apples. What's a pear apple? That sounds delicious. First in flight. Thank you, Kane. That's right. We are first in flight. That's the thing. Yeah, first in flight. Yeah, that's on my license plate. See, but I don't ever look at my own license plate because it's impossible, right? So it's like I don't ever know. I guess I could be looking at license plates that are in front of me when I'm driving.
Oh, we might be the Evergreen State or something stupid like that.
Oh, Evergreen. That seems fitting. That's crazy. I love the Gala apples, guys. That's one of my favorite apples. I've never had the pear apple though. I want to try it. Oh, what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, so I was gonna tell you all a little story. Remember when I was saying we're going to table that? So yeah, so here's what I was gonna say. So I touched on it briefly earlier, but so this week, one of the big things that was coming down was we have Scott has this one particular client who's young, okay, and the feds have a bunch of serious charges on him. These charges are not violent crimes. This is actually a different type of case. This one's like money, so fraud and whatnot, right? So for multiple different states, which is why it's federal, right? He's got a co-conspirator, and so they had brought like a number of indictments against him. Apparently, this dude, this client, right? I mean, he actually told me this today himself. Okay. He was like, yeah, like you didn't see it on the news. And I was like, I don't really watch the news. So apparently he was like, he's been all over the news here. I had no idea. But like, anyway, so he had a bunch of charges, and then Scott, because Scott's awesome, got him out on bail. And then he like did more criming and whatnot. Anyway, so this kid though, okay, Scott had to break the news to him that like there is no way around it. Like you're going to be going to federal prison and you're going to do time. There's no way around it. Because he violated the terms of his probation or whatever. Like in other words, when he got out, like after the first 2 charges, and Scott got him that great deal. It was like basically don't crime again, or like you're in big trouble. And then he crimed again, right? And so like basically the U.S. attorney called me on a couple days ago, called me and said, hey, you better tell Scott that, by the way, we just found a whole other slew of crimes, and basically he's going to have to come, like, that's it. We're going to come and get him. Like, he's going to have to come in custody. And, you know, we got a whole other witness, and there's a bunch of more charges coming, and So we had to break the news to this client that, like, yeah, you're screwed. And so it's really funny because the way that Scott and I both seem to feel about this particular client is like, he can't get out of his own way, right? Like, and he's young. He's like in his early 20s. He can't get out of his own way. It's like he does, you know, Scott saves his ass, right? Gets him out on, you know, or whatever. He's not had to do any time yet, right? But like, which is shocking. And then it's like, but then he crimes more, and it's like, dude, come on, we're trying to help you. And so it's like Scott and I have been working really, really hard to repair all this stuff for what's going to happen next week, which I'll talk about in a second. And so basically they've had a lot of long heart to hearts, and like this kid will come in and Scott's bought him lunch, and the kids, anyway, it's just the whole thing. So anyways, but this week has been, in terms of a lot of this week anyway, like this has been the main project, because basically, because of this new witness coming forward and all these new charges being brought and all that, and how that changed the whole negotiation for being out on probation, instead of being sentenced in months from now or whatever, right? Basically what happened was this week, a number of things happened. The client learned, like, hey, they've got all these new charges against you. You violated your probation, and like you're going to prison, and you're going to prison soon. And guess what that means if you're the attorney and the paralegal? Hey, we need to have everything ready for sentencing in like less than a week, because now sentencing is next week. That's the news. Like, sentencing is next week. So we had sorry, I should be more clear. It had to be submitted by 1:30 today. So Scott and I had like 2.5 days to prepare everything. Okay. So let me just tell y'all what we did. So yesterday I stayed there until like almost 7 o'clock. I'm supposed to leave at 5. I stayed until almost 7 o'clock. Scott stayed there until 10 o'clock at night, and then came in at like early this morning, basically. And like his office looked like a tornado hit it. And literally, like, we're like working as hard as we possibly can to try to get everything together to get, this kid, this client, to do the best thing for this client, right? I mean, to fight for this client, to get him the least time possible. So what we had to prepare, right, is this entire thing. So it's a sentencing memorandum, okay, for the feds. So, and I'm going to just discuss it without any of the facts of the case, but just discuss what this was like, right? And so that includes, by the way, the pre-sentencing report, okay? So what happened was Scott had to draft this pre-sentencing memorandum, and it's very lengthy. And it starts out with like the different objections back and forth between the government, the feds, right, and the defense, right, and back and forth, case law here and there, and then it like goes into like the pre-sentencing report, and then it goes into like there's like all these different categories of it. And actually I can just look at it, and that way I can be more specific about the categories. So there's like the background, and then there's the objections to these different adjustments, and the adjustments will be the effect on the sentence. So because what he's doing is he's pleading, right? He's pleading. So this is the negotiation. I should have said that from the outset. He's pleading, he's turning himself in, he's surrendering to the feds, he's going to federal prison, he's going to turn himself in, he's going to try to basically plead with the judge, right? And we were tasked with preparing for him this memorandum that would give him the best chance possible, which is a little bit tricky given that he kept being given a second chance time after time after time, and then cramming again. This young whippersnapper, right? We're like you again, but like we're both like fighting so hard for this client, You're like, it's just really funny. It's hard to explain. And so, how to say it? It's almost like it's so frustrating that it makes him endearing in a way, right? But like, it also makes the job a lot harder to try to get him a lighter sentence or a reduced sentence, So anyway, so it's the background, and then the different skill adjustments or different adjustments on the sentence. Then they've got all these different objections. And oh my God, there's a part in here. I wish I could read it, but it references a fact of the case. But this snark, Scott, you know how when we go through different filings and there's like this snark, right? Where it's like, oh my God, I'm living for this. Or if we hear it in a hearing where there's oral argument and it's like, oh my God, yes. There was a moment like that in this, and I wish I could read it to you guys. It was brilliant. And it was just like totally slaying the feds' really dumb objection that they made. That was the stupidest objection ever. Anyways, so there's a bunch of case law. I'm just scrolling. I just can't show it to you guys, so I'm just looking. Then we've got some other factors, and these are different factors upon sentencing, right? It goes through, there's a ton of these, right? And then it goes through mental health, And then it's going through the pre-sentencing investigation. And then it's going through the whole investigation that the parole board does. Then it goes through like the prospects if they get released, and like what they would they be able to go back and get a job and all this other stuff, right? Then it goes through their prior convictions, right? Then it goes through the sentencing guidelines, and does it warrant a departure? Does this client warrant a departure, right? A downward departure. You guys have heard that before. And then there's a conclusion. So again, we had like 2.5 days, or maybe a little bit less than that. So Scott, was up at the office until 10 last night preparing this memorandum. So then when I came in this morning, I had on my desk a huge ass binder with the entire case file that is like, guys wouldn't even believe it if you saw it. And then I had his printout of this memorandum after he had AI check it for errors, and after he read through it a couple times, and then he was going to give it to me. And so I was supposed to then proofread it, but then I actually ended up editing it. And I actually ended up adding to it. And I wish I could tell you guys because it was awesome, but I actually ended up, oh my God, Twiz is doing things on the screen. I actually ended up making argument, you guys, and fleshing out an argument. Like I added to it. Like I typed up an additional page and was like, insert this here and insert this there. And like, I actually fleshed out an argument, like in my own words. I got to choose my own snarky words, guys. I got to choose my own snarky words. Oh my God. And I had a good one. Moreover, da 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 da. Anyways, it was amazing. I wish I could read it to you guys. But here's the deal. So I made the final changes to this, and then he submitted, and it was so down to the wire. It had to be in by 1:30, and at 1:23 we're having technical difficulties because the PDFs wouldn't save. And literally the two of us were like, oh my God, we have 7 minutes. It had to be in. It was so stressful. And then there are all the exhibits, right? All the attached exhibits. So there's like A through F or whatever. And so he was like asking me, can you try to figure it out? And then he's on the phone with like the U.S. attorney, like, what do? We can't get the it's not saving correctly on the thing. And, anyway, technical difficulties, right? It's like, why is this not working? I don't know why it's not working. So I was like over there in one room, and it was just like, oh my God, down to the wire. And literally at like 1:28, we got it in. And we were like cheering and jumping up and down and like, yay. And we were like just ecstatic because this was like a whole thing. And like Scott was like, I could not have done this without you. And I was like, I couldn't have done this without you. But here's the thing. So the federal court, like the feds here, right? The Middle District of New York is going to be reading next week a really huge sentencing memorandum that's going to really impact the rest of this client's life. And they're going to, and they're going to be reading things that I wrote, and they're going to be using the argument and the case law and all the things to determine what type of sentence he's going to get. And there's, as you guys may well know, with the feds, it's a big range. And he is pleading, right? But there's still a pretty big range. And like initially, the government wanted like, I don't know, 10 years or something like that. But with all the different objections and Scott doing such a good job, it's been getting lower and lower and lower. And now we're at the point where Scott is asking for, I think, 2 years. And then the government's asking for a more close, like 4 or 5 type of thing. And there's like a range in there. So anyway, even if this kid gets like 3 or 4 years, it's already a miracle. It's already a miracle that if that were to happen. Like, in other words, even the max for him at this juncture is a miracle that Scott was able to work that out for him. It's a miracle. It's so impressive. Anyways, so it's just like, wow, like, and should the court, and honestly, it's a really strong memorandum. It was really good. It was so good. I wish you guys could see it, but like, it was just so good. And I was like, wow, like Scott, like, this is amazing. This is really good. And, I thought it was really persuasive. And should the court find it persuasive, he could be ending up with only something like 2 years. And, you in the federal prison, you do what, 85% of whatever it is. And, he'll still be a young whippersnapper when he gets out, and he's got a fiance. And like, I don't know. Anyway, it's going to be really, it sucks. I'm not going to be able to be there for this because I feel really invested in it. Like, that's the best way to say it. I'm like really invested. And so is Scott. We're really, really invested in the outcome of what happens here for this kid. even though he's a young whippersnapper and he keeps getting in his own way. But like, you know, we love him anyway. And anyway, so are you having fun, Twiz?
Yes.
These are all the different overlays. I guess some of you guys maybe I haven't seen them if you're newer. I bet you can do the media assets like the videos too, Twiz, huh?
Just because somebody pleads the fifth, just because somebody doesn't talk to cops, just because somebody hires a lawyer, does not mean they're guilty.
That's a yes. Look at Twiz go. He can do all the things. Oh my God.
Bloodshed.
Don't. Oh, you put on the music. Night driving. I love night driving.
I am not a hoe. I am not a hoe. I am not a hoe.
What?
I am not a hoe.
Okay.
I am not a hoe.
Let me.
What is it from?
Okay, sorry. A lot of these are Trooper Buchanan that I clipped from this retrial. And if you play one of these, it'll just play on repeat until you stop it.
The title is not a hoe.
You tell me, player. You tell me, player. You tell me, player. Balls. 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 I am not a hoe. I am not a hoe.
Yeah.
There's a house cat that's gone wild.
I need a drink. Please.
Oh, we're gonna use that one. I'm gonna start using these a lot.
Yeah, I've got a fuck ton of them. You see how many things I got
order a
here?
pizza.
Whatever, I don't care.
I already.
Oh, I know what that's from.
Yup. Yup.
Hi, babe. Hi, babe. I feel like I'm sitting on an atomic bomb waiting for it to go off. I feel like
it's either a coincidence or she thinks that.
That's Charlie.
She help herself.
I need a drink.
Oh yeah, some of those are gonna come in handy.
There's so many. I forgot how many of these I have.
Ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. Please.
Anytime Bill's like, you entered the house and premeditatedly killed 4 people.
Please.
Gosh. They really screwed us by not giving that trial. Jesus Christ.
I know, right?
they betrayed me, they didn't keep their promise, they tricked me, and I don't care anymore. I'm fed up with this world.
By the way, some of these are from something you guys probably don't know, but Twiz knows it. One of my favorite movies is a B movie called The Room, and some of these are from that movie.
I just saw you. What are you talking about?
Oh.
I like you very much. Lover boy.
Don't touch me, motherfucker.
Oh, this one.
Oh, hi, Danny.
Oh, where did it go?
There's so many of these guys.
I'm not Nostradamus. I'm not Nostradamus.
See, I wasn't kidding when I was like, Twiz co-host status. He has all the constitutional rights.
Please handcuff the defendant.
Don't touch me, motherfucker.
Oh, Lord.
Oh my God, it's so fun.
There's a chicken.
Oh, I didn't need to do that. I'm going to do hold on.
Chicken. Chip, 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 chip.
Chip, 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 chip.
Come on. Chip, 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 chip.
Yeah, the barbecue chicken was delicious rice. Leave your stupid comments in your pocket.
Oh my God. It's just so good. It's just so
You
good.
invited all my friends. Good thinking.
Oh my God. And then they're coming for you, Fivel. Clock's ticking.
TikTok, motherfuckers.
That's right. That is right. How are y'all doing in the chat? Let me see what y'all are saying. Nada. I know. You guys, for anyone who hasn't seen it, so I actually made a video. So from the Karen Reed retrial, right? When Yuri Buchanan read Karen and John, we haven't watched that in a long time. It might be time. It feels like forever ago. I can barely remember it. But anyway, he did the dramatic reading of their text messages, and it was amazing. I made a video of like the best of, and so if you like look at my channel, it's like I'm sure it's on the Karen Reed playlist, but also it's just under videos because it wasn't a live stream. It was like a video that I edited, but it's so fucking funny. It has all the best moments. So it's probably called something like the best of Yuri Buchanan reads the dramatic text or something like that. I don't know. But anyway, that doesn't surprise me that he's trying to get his job back. Has anyone here not heard some of the latest on this, right? Like what Bryan was paid and whatnot? Because that's a good one.
Heather's going to be so mad.
About what?
She missed all my laughing.
Well, I'm sure we can make you laugh again.
Nope. Never
Welcome,
happening.
Don't be hating. Don't be hating. Love that. I love it. It's a good slogan. Also, what was the other one? The Apple state. You know what would be fun, Twiz? We go through every state in the country and we make up slogans for the states because we were doing that anyway, but we could make it like an official game. It'd be fun. You tell me, Plea.
That was pretty good. Did you do that? Say that again?
That was me, yeah.
That was good.
We got one for this, Donna. Hold on.
I need a drink.
You tell me, Plea.
You tell me, Plea.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Hold on. Where is I can do this one pretty good, I think. Where is it? I'm fed up with this world.
I'm fed up with this world.
Oh, hi, Danny.
Oh, hi, Danny.
Sorry. Anyways.
I have my own problems.
Tell me about your problems, Johnny.
Peter, you always play psychologist with us.
I have my own.
Oh, we should play that for Peter. That'd be funny.
Peter? What?
Yeah, the lawyer you know.
Oh, Trey goes. I was like, Peter. I don't know Peter. Right.
They betrayed me. They didn't keep their promise. They tricked me, and I don't care anymore. And I am the fool.
I am the fool.
I am the fool. Don't touch me, motherfucker. Oh, hi, babe. Kane can't hear it. Is this a Kane problem, or can everyone else not hear it?
I mean, it sounds good to me, so I think it's a Kane problem.
I can hear it too, so I think it's also a Kane problem. Donna saying, yeah, TikTok. Yeah. I mean, remember, guys, 1 week after Charlie was convicted, they arrested Donna Adelson trying to board the airplane, right? So, I mean, that was, they had to do that. Time was of the essence, but it just goes without saying, right? When Donna is convicted, because I think she will be, and it's, you've already got how many other people, a bazillion other people that are already convicted in this case as co-defendants, right? Like, anyways, how much time, the question is this, how much time will elapse after Donna's conviction before they come for Fievel? I hope it's one day. I hope it's one day they're coming for a Fievel. TikTok. I hate Wendy. Y'all know how I feel about Wendy. Dude, also.
Listen, Wendy is innocent. She's a good person.
Is there any way that you would think somebody
tried to kill my ex-husband? They should be prosecuted to the full extent of the law.
Do it.
Yesterday I was taking a walk around 5. I met a new friend. We went to Tallahassee food trucks.
Wow.
Last night, hung out with her for hours.
Yeah.
Wendy made another new friend? Are you fucking kidding me? Why?
She also Googled. There was a shooting, do you know? Both she and John.
Stop.
Why would they
I'm going to die.
Why would that just come
I'm
up?
going. Sorry. Heather says, I met a new friend on a walk. Bitch, how old are you? Heather, we love you. Where is Heather? Where are you, Heather? We love you.
I just told her to get in here.
Well, good. All you have to do is let her know that we've been talking about Wendy, and I'm sure she'll. So, Kane, are your ears okay? And how are the rats these days? Yeah. Those...
Oh, hi, Danny.
Oh, hi, Danny. You know what? Official, did you see? I think you might have seen part of it. I'm trying to remember who all saw it. Official, you saw part of it, right?
I think he was there with us one night.
I think so. And then Spencer was there for one of them. We had a couple viewings. Also, Happy Annie was there, I think, for both viewings, actually. That's a trooper right there. Although I say that. I love that movie. I've probably seen that movie over 500 times. That's how much I love that movie. Oh my God, with this stupid freaking dude. Just can't with her. I can't with her.
I have that skirt.
Why? She's a good person.
Sarah, your job is very hard. This is a really hard job you guys have.
The other thing that will usually get Heather here is this.
You also told him that you thought you heard a wildcat, but maybe it was a person or something like that as well?
No, that's not what I said.
What did you say then?
I said when I went outside that there's a house cat that's gone wild, and he hangs around. He goes from hanging around the shop, goes from hanging around the house different times. You might, and there'll be times you don't see him. And he had been around the house. Mm-hmm. And when I went outside, I believe that cat was over there.
She lied. You guys have probably seen her even on other channels in the chat, and she'll just like randomly, there's like things she'll randomly start referencing. She'll randomly start referencing Twin Flames. She'll randomly start referencing Wendy quotes, and she'll randomly start saying parts of that, like the outside and the wildcat. And I love it. I freaking love it. I adore Heather. Heather, where are you? Get your butt over here. We had a moment with Spencer. We did. Also, Spencer, we love you and we miss you. Hope you're doing
I just
okay.
texted her, Bish, get in Chelsea's.
Thank you, Twiz.
She better get in here.
Yeah, we had fun. So that was in the Discord. This was from a few months back. We had a couple of different viewings of the room. We also had some Curb Your Enthusiasm nights. That was fun. Yeah, when he says outside, I know. It's so good. It's so good. It's so good. There's also one also is good. So many of these that are awesome.
She's a gold digger. She's a gold digger. Watch her bank account get bigger and bigger.
Did you say make a cow get bigger and get bigger?
Bank account.
Oh,
So she's a gold digger.
I thought you said watch her make a cow get bigger and bigger.
She's a gold digging whore.
Great. Hey, how about this one?
There was a firefight!
That was from, we got some of these clips from when we did Ezra McCandless. That was a great fucking trial. Loved that trial.
However, sorry, team approach, I guess.
They were so proud. Oh my God, you guys, memory lane. They were so proud of that poster board, like a school project. And the funniest part about it, I'm gonna play it one more time so y'all can see why it's so funny. Funniest part about it is it's like this huge ass board, and all the pictures are so. This is supposed to be a demonstrative aid for the jury, right? Or exhibit. It's like a timeline. It's a timeline, and it's like the pictures are so small you can't even see them. But look at how proud they are. And we were always joking about how like is there like glitter and like stars on it, but like okay, I'm gonna play it one more time and just notice how proud he is of this, and also notice how small the pictures are in proportion to the actual size of the poster.
However, sorry, team approach, I guess.
You can't see any. I love it. It's great. But they were very proud of it, and it was amazing. Every time. And every time he went to go get out that timeline and use it in trial, he would get so excited, and it was really, we just loved it. It was very endearing. That was that prosecutor. We loved that. We loved that prosecutor. We loved that prosecutor. And that defense attorney who you just saw helping him carry that poster is Aaron Nelson. And I believe he was one of the attorneys for Derek Chauvin. And I think he's done some other high profile trials, but he was, as was court appointed counsel. This is him again here, Aaron Nelson.
Bloodshed.
So that's during closing arguments. His closing arguments, we were worried about his it seemed like he needed to be hospitalized. It was unhinged. It went on for like hours. And he said bloodshed so many times. And every time he said bloodshed, he smiled like this.
Bloodshed.
Anyways, that's why that's funny. Somebody see what you guys are saying in the chat. Oh yeah, Denise. We saw Denise the other day and it was amazing.
Heather's here.
Hi, babe.
Oh, and Gretchen's here too. Hi, Gretchen. Heather, you've missed a ton. We've been talking about how much we love you and all of your favorite things. How do we even recap what just happened to Twiz? I don't think we can. Twiz discovered all the powers that he has on the channel, for one thing, for starters. Right, Twiz?
I don't even know if I found all of them yet. I just keep finding new shit.
Yeah, you definitely have. I mean, there's a ton. There's all these little. See, no one else. You're the first person to see this because no one sees this, right? This is like how I have StreamYard set up. So Twiz is seeing the behind the scenes that he's the first person to ever see all this. Glad I have everything labeled. I mean, that came in handy, huh?
Yeah, especially for the I'm not a hoe one. That's what really got me curious. I saw Night Driving and I was like, what is that?
That's the song. If I ever play background music, that's the only one I ever use because I love it.
And then I saw Not a Hoe and I was like, what the fuck is that? Because I figured Night Driving was like a StreamYard thing. And I was like, Not a Hoe probably isn't.
Yeah, Night Driving is a StreamYard thing, but the rest of these are all things that I added. Personally, because the StreamYard has all like comes with a bunch of them. I deleted all the presets except for Night Driving, and then I added all these myself. These are all clips that I made.
I am not a hoe. I am not a hoe. Balls. Balls. Ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. Please. You tell me, Plea.
There's a house cat that's gone wild.
There you go, Heather. Oh my God, it's so fun.
I'm usually a lot more fun.
There's Wendy.
I'm usually a lot more fun.
Oh my God, it's so good. Let's see what y'all are saying. Adam 22. I think you're a new squirrel friend. Are you still blocked? I've never blocked you. I don't think I've seen you here before, but welcome. Are you somebody who's usually here, but you made another account? Because sometimes people do that. Let me know so we can properly welcome you. Yeah, Adobe. I'm sorry, I'm just scrolling back in the chat. Yeah, exactly. They needed help carrying the poster together for like. I know it is hilarious. Thank you. It is so funny. And you know what? It was like a theme in the trial, right? You know, every trial has its like themes, right? Like that trial had a lot of themes, and one of them was like this poster board with the teeny pictures and all of that we just saw, and it was so fucking funny every time. It was great. And this is so that's Kane. Hi, Kane. Oh my God. Oh, Mary. So what would you like for your command? She finally thought of it.
A lion SOB.
Wait, what? Mighty Mouse. What is that first emoji in front of the mouse? What is that? I can't
A
tell.
tornado.
Is that what that is? Or it's a cloud. It looks different on streamer. Why are you laughing, Twiz? Why are you laughing?
Because I'm evil.
What are you doing? Are you blocking people? Don't be blocking people or I'll use your privileges.
No, I called Mary a liar because she gave us the wrong Discord name.
Oh. They have a lightning bolt. There's a lightning bolt. I'll make it a lightning bolt. Let me tell. Hey, Nightbot. Yes. Can you make Mary's command, please? Okay. Thank you. Love you. That's just me talking to Nightbot. Don't mind me. Don't mind us. We're just gonna get this set up for Mary. Oh, that's really funny, Mary. That's really funny.
That's definitely not what I'm laughing at you about because Discord is stupid, so I completely understand it.
So, did anybody not hear how much money Bryan was paid to represent the Commonwealth? Because something everybody should know.
Did this news just come out? Because I thought it was like $1 million or something. 200 grand.
You might be thinking of how much the Aperture was paid. Maybe this came out like yesterday, I think.
No, we heard this before. Wasn't it like $1 million or something? It's a lot of money, but damn.
Not $1 million.
How much?
It ended up being like over $500,000.
Yeah, it was like 450 or something.
For his portion of what it was just disgusting. It makes me just
dude. Yeah. After what he said after the trial, I don't even see how a defendant would want him defending him.
I know.
Because he still thinks that car hit Karen Reed.
It's crazy.
I mean, John O'Keefe.
Yeah, for sure.
You aren't having a blunt object hit a body and cut it and not have a bruise underneath. Sorry. That's not how freaking reality works.
Yeah, it's he doubled down and he insulted the jury. Dude.
Hold on.
By the way, I need Mary. Sorry, hold on. I talked over it. Go ahead.
Please.
Karen Reed hit John O'Keefe with her car.
Please.
That's pretty much my fucking response.
Mary has her command, guys, by the way. Thank you, Nightbot. You're welcome. Oh my God, there's so many ones we can do too. Like, let's see. How about let me think of something. I can't think of anything. What did Twiz never say?
I am not a hoe.
What? That is fucked up. I'm suing for slander.
You know what is so funny, you guys? Almost every day, people will call the law firm and ask, yeah, so I want to sue for defamation. And it's all I can do to not just start laughing at them on the phone. And it's just like face palm repeatedly. Oh my God. Like it's just funny. It's just funny and sad. Really, I don't know. Is it funny or sad? I guess it's both. It's funny.
Oh,
sad.
This supposed attorney was telling me and this dude on Twitter yesterday that they could sue us for defamation. And I was like, how are you going to prove damages from a very small Twitter account?
Right. Yeah. Remember, guys, whenever you got idiots like that, It's really easy. Whenever it comes to civil, right? Most civil matters, including defamation, you're talking about torts, okay? Torts, 4 things need to be established: duty, breach, causation, and damages. That's also true for like a wrongful death suit, for example, pertaining to Karen Reed. Also true for defamation. So there's a lot of different types of torts, but but regardless of the type, like 4 things, right? Duty, breach, causation, and damages. So he's the hoe. You guys remember that song? What is it? She's a hoe.
She's a hoe. She's a hoe.
Ho! Didn't someone in the
She's
back?
a hoe. I said that she's a hoe.
Oh yeah, that's right. I remember. Yeah. Let's do some rap songs, Twiz. What should we do?
I don't know.
People who are here for like, you know, an intense conversation about plea bargaining and the death penalty, you can rewind it because now we've moved on to other things.
Late night Friday stream.
Woo!
Oh, it's currently 69 degrees outside according to my laptop.
What does Nightbot think? Let's find out. Thank you, Nightbot. You're welcome. Cute. Good job, Nightbot.
I am not a perv, and that's very offensive.
I am not a hoe. I am not a hoe. Please. Balls.
That's what I have to say about that, Twiz.
I was just telling Mary how I wasn't a perv.
Wasn't
Shut the fuck up,
Oh,
Mary.
are you thinking of like the Shaggy song? It wasn't me. Gonna in the shower. It wasn't me. Da-da-da-da-da. Wasn't me. And then it got me on camera. That's like a self-snitching song, isn't it? Is that the song you're talking about?
What do you mean self-snitching? He said it wasn't him. And it wasn't him.
Yeah, but they caught him on camera. So that's direct evidence.
AI video, hello.
Yeah, banging on the sofa. Thank you. Thank you. That's right. Yep.
And that's why you never give your girl your key.
What? Is that a reference to Higgins?
What?
The thing about the key? Because that was a whole thing that him and Karen.
It's part of the song, but it could fit many occasions.
Mm-hmm.
Jodi Arias, I don't know.
Wait, is that in oh, that's right. It was in that song, wasn't it? I forgot about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you guys remember that song? Every morning there's a something, 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 something from my...
Every morning there's a halo hanging from a corner of my 4-post bed.
Or what about it's
I just
been
listened to that song like a week ago. It's been 1 week since you looked at me. Da-da-da. Cocked your head to the side and said, I'm angry. 3 days in the living room.
We can do a whole show where we just do 90s songs. Oh my God. Y'all know how much I love 90s music. What about, Twiz, how did you feel about Third Eye Blind?
Third Eye Blind has one of my favorite lyrics of all time.
Which is what?
So put that belly face down on the mattress. Something about red panties. Those little red panties, they passed the test, so put that little belly face down on the mattress one.
Okay, so Twiz, you know, weren't you just saying this?
Can you feel me?
I am not a hoe.
Weren't you just saying that?
I am not a hoe.
I can be not a hoe and sing lyrics at the same time, thank you.
You know, also, I just have to say, do you have to be so mainstream? Because that was like their most popular song.
No, I said that's one of my favorite lyrics in a song ever.
Right.
And like the funny thing is like I'm not even like really that into red panties. I just like the lyric. You know?
Hold on.
Please.
But are you into
balls?
Yes. I mean, what? I feel like I just got inceptioned. Kane, are you inceptioning me, you bastard?
Oh, that was a really good full circle moment right there, guys. That was a really good full circle moment. And also, speaking of full circle, Heather says
I'm not into Balzacs. I'm into these balls. That's not Missy Elliott, but
no, it's not. It's not Missy Elliott. Nope.
what is it? My neck, my back, lick my
yeah. What is
and
that?
my.
What is that? I always thought that song was stupid.
It is stupid, but it was popular, you know.
But Missy Elliott, though,
my milkshake brings all the boys to the yard, and they're like, "It's better than yours." Damn right, it's better than yours. I could teach you, but I'd have to charge.
So what if you got a big? Let me search it and find out how hard I gotta work it. That was really good, Twiz. That was really good. You guys, did y'all hear that? That was amazing. That's like a whole talent right there, Twiz.
I flipped it and reversed it.
There it is. You know, Mary says it's been an amazing 3 months being part of this group. We are a special group. This is a prime example. I love it. I love you guys. Y'all are awesome.
And you guys thought you wanted me on panel. Joke's on you.
We love it. Official has to go.
Goodbye,
we love you.
Skull Machi.
There you go. So yeah. Yep. He's a hoe. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
P-Fox. I totally agree with you on that one, P-Fox. P-Fox saying Missy is a 5. I don't think she'll ever get enough credit. Yep, I agree. I love Missy as well.
I think like the lady rappers were better back then than they are now.
Totally. Are there even lady rappers now though at all? I don't even know.
I mean, what's that one chick with the huge ass? There's a few of them, but what's that one chick?
What's her face? Oh yeah, her. Yeah, which one? I don't know. Does anybody know? Oh, Nicki Minaj? Is she?
Yeah,
one?
that's the one.
Yeah.
Lizzo? Does Lizzo rap? I've never even heard a Lizzo song.
Hey, by the way, I gave you a big shout out at the beginning of the live stream because I was literally saying I'm so sad that people like Miss Pottage are saying that they wake up right when we finish and time zones are awful. And I said, if you're on, you'll hear this. And now here you are.
It's bad when she wakes up when you finished.
Oh my god.
Oh, that just goes back to our conversation from a while ago. Bad news.
Balls.
What was I part of that conversation, or are you talking about something else?
Yeah, you're like the other half of the conversation. It's kind of how conversations work.
Hold on. Which one now? Which one?
I don't even want to bring it up.
What? Wait, was this on the live stream?
No.
Okay. Up in now I don't remember. It seems like it's an inside joke that I'm a part of, and I don't remember what it is, and that's a shame. You can text it to me, Twiz, if you want, or put it in the private chat. There's lots of female rappers. Well, good.
Where does Miss Pottage live? In the UK? Is it like 5 in the morning? What's going on here?
Yeah, this seems like it must be across the pond, as they say.
Where is our Indian friend?
Fender! We love Fender. Shout out to Fender.
I want to listen to Eve 6.
Well, we can't play it because we'll get struck down. I get struck down, but I get up again. I know that's not the actual lyrics. I changed it because of the reference. Never gonna keep me down. Also, want to put my tender heart in a... Wait, hold on. Let's do this.
Watch it spin around to the
Oblivion. Rendezvous.
rendezvous. Now I'm through. Now I'm through with
Yeah.
you. Ba-dum, 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 ba-dum. I heard that song like last week too.
What about woo? Woo! Anyone know that song?
Song number 2?
That's it. Yeah, you win. I love that. Dude, if you want a song that will like get you like amped no matter what the fuck you're doing, I don't care what it is, you'll be like, yes, that song is amazing. I love that song.
It's all right. It doesn't hype me up though.
Oh, I think it's so hype, man. Like, yeah, the woo, man. It's really good.
You're camping and talking with us. Are you in Devon?
What's all this singing? I don't know how to answer that because, like, I feel like I'm singing all the time.
Y'all ready for this? I don't know where Sussex is, but Dinky was just hiking in Devon, whatever that means.
You got big. We work it. Wait, no, search it. James got the lyrics wrong. Sorry. It's let me search it. Find out how hard I gotta work it. Let's just make sure it's correct.
Oh, we should listen to that one chick from the Diddy lawsuit. She had songs, right?
I don't know. Techno remix. Twiz, can you make techno sounds with your mouth?
I mean, probably, but I don't know how.
Oh.
Dinky and Southwest. I'm in Southeast. It's a tiny island. I think you guys could meet in the middle or something. But I have no idea where, like, Devon is. Does he live in Devon, or did he have to travel? I don't know.
We don't know.
Just don't go to London and get stabbed, and I'd consider it a good day in the UK.
For sure.
You look great. You look a baby face, huh?
A baby face, yeah.
Oh, hi, Danny.
Oh my god.
I just saw you. What are you talking about? I just...
Oh god. Oh god. So good. It's so good.
So let me see the Tootsie Roll. You think that song was about Diddy? Holy shit.
What? That song was about Diddy? No. That was
But I mean, that song came out in the 90s when like he was coming up. It could be about Diddy. I'm just saying.
You guys remember those CDs that they used to sell on TV called Jock Jams and stuff like that? And then they had like, what was it called? Now, they like, what was it called? Now, and they had like the series like Now 7,
Yeah.
Now. Y'all remember?
Now 48.
Yeah, right? I wonder if they still make those.
I doubt it, but those things got like, I remember looking at those like later on, and like all of the songs were covers. They weren't even using the real bands anymore.
I know, right? The 90s were the best, man. People actually did stuff. The music, there was so much diverse, like from the rap to the hip hop to the grunge to the metal. Like there's so much diversity, and like everyone was actually writing their own shit and singing their own shit and playing their own instruments. You know what I mean?
Yo, what if we went back in time to before the iPod? iPods killed music. We don't even buy CDs anymore. We just download that shit.
I know, right? I mean, I don't even have how would you even play a CD? Like, there's not even a way to do it. You know?
Dude, the CD player in my car's broke.
I don't even have a CD player.
Gretchen, we don't want to hear about that. That is disgusting.
James is saying that we should go on camera and play charades and then guess what that would be fun, wouldn't it? That would be fun. That would be a fun game. We've done, well, not that, but it's just, I'm remembering some of the things we've done for members only live streams that were not that exact, but we had like the Never Have I Ever. We had some other games and stuff. We had trivia night. That was fun. Of course, heavy on the 90s questions. 90s music questions. That was awesome. Anyways,
Well, what do you do with the CDs, Gretchen? Just be nice to them.
be nice to the CDs. I got my head checked by a jumbo jet. Whatever the next lyric is. It's not
It
my
wasn't
problem.
easy.
Oh, yeah.
Woohoo! And I speak heavy metal. Woohoo!
What's Donnie Wahlberg? What is that?
Like Mark Wahlberg's brother or something?
That's what I was wondering. I'm like, Oh, Blink 182. Oh my God. I love it. I still love it.
Wait, why were you talking about Third Eye Blind?
I don't remember. I'd have to, you know what?
I feel like you had a reason to bring that up.
There was. And you know what'll happen, as always, when I'm doing timestamps, I'll get to that part. And then now that this moment is happening now, when I do the timestamps, I'll hear what happened then. And then I'll be able to answer this question that we're having now that we don't have the answer to.
New kids on the block suck a lot of dick.
It's like having a time machine. Chinese food makes me sick. Oh my God, I had such a crush on that lead singer as a little first grader or whatever the fuck.
Who?
The dude from that song. You know, here's the thing. I did a lot of professional theater growing up, and I never cared about Abercrombie and Fitch until that dude said I like girls that wear Abercrombie and Fitch. And I was in like first or second grade, and this is an adult, but like anyways, for whatever, you know how it was when you're that age in the 90s, you don't understand, and you like think like, oh, like this is anyway. So I literally would go and spend all the money that I made doing musical theater and buy Abercrombie and Fitch because he said it's just so stupid. It's so stupid. Anyways, there you go.
Well, that song was Eminem, but I know the song that you're referencing. Flash,
No.
you slept already? What the fuck?
Wait, no. Wait, what? Wait, what lyric did you say again, Twiz?
Well, I said new kids on the block suck a lot of dick.
Oh, I see. My brain transposed that to New Kids
Yeah,
on
I
the
know.
Block. Yeah, whatever that.
You're thinking the real song.
I'm thinking of the
I think
song.
it's Steal My Sunshine.
What?
Steal My Sunshine?
That's not the song.
What song is it?
The one that I'm talking about is the one, Summer Girls. When the girls stop by for the summer. There's the Summer Girls.
Yeah.
That one.
Isn't it called Steal My Sunshine, though?
No, that's a different band.
Is it a different song?
Yeah,
Mm,
completely different.
they both sound the same to me. I don't know.
Um,
Won't you steal my sunshine?
yeah, that song is really annoying to me. Personal thing. A Flash got woken up by the dog. There's a whole saga of the dog. It's pretty fucking funny. I mean, not funny because you got woken up, and not funny when like your socks got peed on and stuff. But like, you know, someday, Flash, you might think it's funny in hindsight. You know, one of those things. One of those things.
Now I gotta listen to that song when we get off of here.
Which one?
That song you were just singing.
About Abercrombie and Fitch?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good one.
I mean, I know it, but
Summertime Girl. It's like the one where he doesn't like rap, but he kind of like raps a little bit, and then like da-da-dum, ba-da-dum. I mean, it was like their one hit, that one song, right? But I don't know why. I just was like, oh my God, stupid. Yeah, there you go. Twiz, we got a request for some Marvin Gaye.
yeah, I don't know any of his songs. Sorry, it's a little before my time.
Mary's got one. What you got, Mary? What you got? We could do Zeppelin.
Ba-da-da-down, da-down, 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 da-down. We already sang that one, Mary. Where have you been?
Yeah, we did do that one.
It's been 1 week since you looked at me.
Da, da, da. 2 days in the living room. Chinese chicken. Oh, Blind Melon. Oh my God. Do 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 do. I love that song. Do 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 do. Oh, that's a good one.
All I can say is my life is pretty blown. I like watching the puddles gather rain.
Like that exactly, Twiz. Come on.
I can't sing high anymore, so I have to do like a stupid voice. It's just something I'm dealing with, you know?
Flash says, are we drunk or something? Are you drunk, Twiz?
All I can do is just pour a drink for two and speak my point of view, but it's insane. It's insane.
I just want someone to say to me, oh, 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 I'll always be there anyway. Do.
Yeah.
Oh, you know who that sounded like? That sounded like Pearl Jam. Eddie Vedder.
Yeah, I watched a video about them a while back. That's one of my favorite songs, though.
Which one?
Have you guys ever watched Without a Paddle?
I have not.
You don't watch anything. That song's
I
in
watch
it, though.
Trials when I have time, when I'm driving, when I'm stuck in traffic on the Whopper.
What do you mean, get one?
What about Red Hot Chili Peppers had some good songs back in the day too. Old school. Incubus.
Dude, Incubus I kind of slept on. Like in high school there was a couple chicks that were like in love with them, and I was like, I mean, like they got a couple good songs, but like now I like listening to them.
Dude, Incubus, my favorite Incubus album is one that no one ever heard of. Well, okay. Certain music people will, but in other words, the mass
So
people.
stay with me and I'll have it made.
For anyone who's not ever listened to it, it is amazing. It's kind of metal.
And it's all I could do is sleep all day. And I start to complain when there's no rain. Where it's at. I don't know if that's the right song, but that's what I just thought of.
Stay with me now. Right, thank you, Miss Mojo.
Actually, the song I've been listening to on my phone when I'm driving and shit, or like the channel is called the No Rain channel. So just saying.
Cool. Tiptoe Through the Tulips. I don't know what that is. How much beer should you give a dog? The answer is none. None beer.
What kind of dog and how drunk do you want them to be? There's a lot of science that goes into this. You can't just... A Chihuahua and a fucking Dalmatian, there's two different levels, you know?
Where'd it go? Hold on.
Please.
Wait.
I need a drink.
There it is.
There was this chick a long time ago that I knew, and like she was tiny, and she'd literally get drunk off of like half a shot. It was ridiculous.
That will happen. Yeah. Mary's dog likes beer. Yeah, I don't think that... How did your dog know that it likes beer? Oh my God. That's funny. I don't like beer personally.
Holy shit, it's 7-Eleven today? Nobody told me.
What does that mean?
free slushies at 7-Eleven, but there's no 7-Eleven here, so I couldn't even get one anyways. Just, you know.
Oh no. It's 7:12 here though. So too late anyway. I don't even think we have 7-Elevens here. Not that I even drink slushies. Anyway, if Kane's still listening, he's gonna think that's especially funny because there was one time where I was like, "What's that thing? I've never had that thing." And I think slushies were involved, and he was like, "Are you human?" And I'm like, "I don't even know."
You're like, "What's a slushie?" I remember that.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, Jesus Christ, Chelsea, we can't take you anywhere.
Oh man, it reminds me of the knife story. Many of you guys have heard the knife story. Yeah.
What, at court?
No, the one from the
Or
airport.
plane?
The plane.
Yeah. We can't take you anywhere.
Exactly. The court one's good. Actually, only Twiz has heard that one, I think. That was when I first started. Oh my God, that feels like forever ago. I feel like it's just so funny. I feel like that was like my third or fourth day or whatever. That was so epic though, dude. I was like, that's when it's like, you know, like I already knew that like these attorneys were really super cool, but like that was a moment where it's like, yeah, you're the shit. Helping me so I can get into court with my knife. Oh my God. Anyways, I hate kale, actually. I hate kale. I don't know why I just said that with a southern accent, but I do not like kale. It's really funny. I'm really picky, even though I'm a vegan. Like, I don't like spinach. I don't like tomatoes. I'm like actually legit afraid of mushrooms.
Why? Tell us that story. There's a reason for that. What did you do?
They creep me out.
What
Mushrooms and
did
sponges.
you do?
Those are the two things.
And
I have no problem with
sponges.
snakes or spiders or any heights. None of the normal stuff. For me, it's mushrooms and sponges.
There's stories here. What did the sponge do to you?
The sponge story, well, I feel like how can you not be? Okay. Like, you know, the sponges, like the type that like people use with their dishes and whatnot that are like yellow and spongy and people use them for a long time. Well, okay. So growing up, doing chores and whatnot, I always did the vacuuming. I love vacuuming. I still love vacuuming. But there was like one day where for whatever reason, Daniel, my brother, claimed the vacuuming and I had to do the dishes and I had to use one of those freaking sponges. And it's like I knew why I hated it before I even got to this. Like I already knew what I was in for. And I was a little kid, but I'm like, I have a brain. I can see that this is sitting there. What is this thing doing? This thing is collecting all of the nasty food remnants and it's constantly wet. And then the next day it collects more. And so basically we're cleaning dishes with something that is probably toxic, basically. Right. But I'm like, my brain's like knows. I'm like, that's why do not want to touch that thing. And I like asked, I'm like, can I do it without a sponge? She's like, no, you have to use a sponge. And like I did the dishes with the stupid sponge and my hands smelled like the nastiest fucking disgusting nastiness. And it was like for a week I couldn't get the smell out. Ugh. But I didn't even need that to happen to know why I'm afraid of sponges, because that shit is disgusting. Right, guys?
Sponges are cool.
Can't stand microfiber cloth. Interesting.
Every now and then they do feel kind of weird, but they're so good at like keeping screens clean and stuff.
Yeah. Sponges are disgusting and awful, and then so are mushrooms. Mushrooms. Oh.
What about if like the sponge is fresh?
If it's a fresh
like
sponge,
the first time ever used.
If it's a brand new sponge, it's fine. But like once you use it, then it's contaminated.
So you're like a one-time use only sponge person.
Well, I don't use sponges. I use like if I'm gonna hand wash something, I use the dish brushes because those are obviously more sanitary, and you can put them in the dishwasher. They don't collect food and water and all that shit like a sponge does. You know what I mean?
You could put a sponge in the dishwasher. You could boil it. You could put sanitizer on it or something. There's lots of things you could do.
Yeah, but why when you could just use the brush? There's no benefit to a sponge that the brush doesn't have.
It keeps things wetter.
Well, that's
if you need things
to
be
said.
wetter, it's better.
That's what she said.
Exactly.
Sorry. Yeah, that's right. See, thank you, Gretchen.
You're all over here shitting on sponges, but you basically are one. I mean, what?
Gretchen understands. Look, sponges just soak up all the bacteria and save it for later. Exactly. Thank you, Gretchen. Thank you.
And what's the difference between that and women? Just saying. Y'all are dirty. Dirty, dirty, dirty.
Whatever, Twiz, because we all know you're lying when you say
I am not a hoe.
It's still gonna stink. I don't care. You can microwave it for however long, it's still gonna smell nasty. Can't get rid of that smell.
Y'all are fucking liars.
Hi, dog. There you go. Sponges are like some people. Soak up drama, hold it forever, and still it crusty after. Did you just come up with that on the fly? That sounds like that could be a saying, and that was amazing. Thank you.
I'm never coming on panel again. Apparently, I'm just your guys' fucking punching bag up here.
We love you, Twiz. What does that mean? Washing Cheyenne? What does that mean? People are gross too. They are, yes. Yeah, I have one in mind who's particularly bad, and that is this person. Bible.
Oh, she's so innocent. Look at that face.
Ew. Fucking Bible. Shark weasel. So this, by the way, for anyone who's like, what was it? This surprise. This is from the Ezra McCandless trial. You know,
I hope Mary gets one.
because Ezra's spirit animal was a shark weasel. So that's why. You hope Mary gets one what?
A shark weasel.
Oh. Oh, it was supposed to be chicken. That's funny. Flash. Not Cheyenne. It was supposed to be chicken.
They washed a chicken with Dawn soap? I mean, that's what they do with like seals and shit when there's an oil spill, right? Oh god, I bet X is going nuts.
Are you? Why would X go nuts? Go nuts.
Just because there's a bunch of stupid people on there.
Yeah, that's sure. That's
It's just
for sure.
like the internet, you know, in general.
Who's ready for a poop surprise? Surprise!
Whoa, Jesus.
See, it worked. Yeah, I've never used Twitter or Instagram or Snapchat or whatever the things.
So me and this guy made a bet about Bryan, right? And it was like I paid him 1,000 if he won, he paid me 5,000 if I win, right? And since Bryan took the plea, he's like, pay up, and I'm like, that wasn't the terms of the bet, so no. But he's like, I'm an attorney. There's another attorney on X. I'm an attorney. I'm like, well, then you would understand that your terms weren't met. So
yeah, you know what? I bet every time that people say that on X, they're not attorneys. That would be my guess.
there's a lot of that for sure.
Yeah, that's so dumb.
But some of them are legit, you know?
Right. But the ones that are legit are probably not engaging in that type of, well, I don't know. I can't say because I don't get on Twitter. There's probably some people who are just being trolls. I have no idea.
Yeah. We've caught a couple fake ones on there for sure. Like the one being like, they could sue you for defamation. I'm like, you prove damages.
Yeah,
Good luck.
Exactly. You know, I had somebody call up today and say, I forget what it was they needed help with. But here's the reason that I was mentioning this, because whatever it was they needed help with, they said, yeah, right before we called you, I spoke with another attorney, and this attorney said that like I would be able to go to court and appear and like go and appear before a judge today. So let me just explain what the thing was whatever the issue was. There was no court date. There was no like literally this person had a thing that they wanted done. I forget what it was. It had to do with their license or something. And they like some attorney apparently told them that they could just go to the courthouse and literally just like show up in front of a judge and just like I'm like I literally laughed out loud and fell out of my chair laughing because he was like, "Is that true?" And I was like, anyway.
It's
and
not
then
saying.
and I'm like, an attorney told you that? It's a real attorney.
It's not saying. Do,
Just
do, do, do. Oh, you want to hear something crazy?
Yeah.
My friend in Oregon right now that I was telling you about, like the Dewey case, He was supposed to have a hearing on Monday, and apparently they just canceled it without telling him. And like, he still doesn't have his car back and stuff. And I was like, bro, they're just playing games with you because they know they fucked up. You better get an attorney.
Oh, he doesn't have an attorney. I was literally going to say, why didn't his attorney? Yeah. He needs an attorney.
Yeah, he said he was going to wait until that hearing because like he's actually like fairly knowledgeable with the law. But I'm like, get an attorney. They'll just go in there and start busting balls.
Yeah,
This is ridiculous.
Dude, I got this call from, so the other day, so one of the other funny things things that just happens, right, is every now and again, I'll get a call from a correctional facility, right? And you hear like the whole thing where it's like, this is da-da-da, right? And your call's secure, your call's being recorded, and you press, and then I'm like, wow, this is amazing, right? Like, Jesus, I'm like accepting these calls, and you never know who's going to be on the other line because it doesn't tell you. It doesn't tell you who the inmate is. So you're just like, I have no idea who this is going to be. So I got a phone call the other day, guys, and from somebody who's in custody, okay? And it's a 19-year-old. And so this person was very, very, very polite. And they called and here's what their situation was. This is going to blow y'all's mind. So the charges that they have were very low level. It was some type of like robbery or something like that. There was no injury to a person. There was no type of weapon involved. None of that. It was a low level offense, right? It's the type of offense that normally when you see that, this person's not going to be in custody, right? It's like, so, and it was just that one thing. And this is a 19-year-old, so they probably don't have much of a rap sheet, if any, right? And they were really polite and really, anyways, so here's what the dealio was. So this 19-year-old calls and is like, hi, so like, I'm here in custody. And they say, I have court-appointed counsel or whatever, I have a public defender. And here's what this kid said. He said, so I've been here for 9 months and I have yet to appear before a judge.
What the fuck? Like he's been in jail that whole time?
It is honestly, and because he's 19, and the thing is, listen to this, guys. This is where it's just sad. So this attorney, he's never appeared before a judge. He doesn't know anything about his case. He's never been provided. Literally, he doesn't. What happened is he was like taken to custody, and that's it. His court-appointed counsel doesn't. He's just sitting there waiting. And here's what he said. He was like, it's been 9 months, and I'm figuring, maybe I should have heard something by now from somebody. And I'm like, oh my God, he doesn't even know how pissed off he could be right now. Like he was being patient for 9 months. I mean, I see these cases all the time, and I've said this to y'all before. I'm surprised at how quickly North Carolina gets cases done. Like it's pretty actually quick compared to a lot of places. Most people it would have been like, what? But here's the other thing that's really sad. There's no reason he should even be in custody. So this,
I was just gonna say, like, why is he in custody?
There's because here's what must have happened. Because technically, even for certain traffic offenses, right? Technically, if nobody says anything on the citation, it's like you spend whatever time in jail or whatever, right? Like a lot of things have that, but it's like no one ever does it. So his court-appointed counsel must literally have not done anything to where this kid comes in and the court-appointed counsel has done literally nothing, because there's no reason he should be in custody, because it would have taken literally just breathing on the citation for them to be like, yeah, there you go. You don't even spend, like, you shouldn't even be like, go live your life. And like this is crazy. And I was like, and I didn't say this to the kid because I didn't want him to know how bad this was. But in my mind, I'm like, this is a complete travesty. And like, I can't even fucking believe this. And here's the other thing.
Did you tell him to get a civil rights attorney and make that money?
Here's the other thing. This is the first time I've ever had a call from an inmate who's calling on their own behalf to seek counsel. Normally what happens is they have a family member do it. So here's the thing. This kid who's 19 is proactive enough that he somehow was able to find the name and number of an attorney and use whatever little money he has and call them himself. Proactive to talk to them himself instead of even asking a family member to do it when he could have. Like, the initiative, right? The initiative. And you know what he said? He was like, I just want to get this taken care of. He's like, I've been here for 9 months and I would really love to see a judge and I would love to get this taken care of. He wants to and so literally, I was telling this to Scott, and Scott's face got all red and he like stormed out. Like, just, this is just, yeah. So I was like, anyway, we're going to hook him up and we're going to take care of this. But this is just, it's just unfucking unbelievable. I will say so far from what I've seen in terms of the public defenders here in this area, they are not good, to say the least. I've not ever heard anything but a variety of horror stories about the public defenders here. And that might take the cake of all of them. It's just this kid. No one's even told him anything. So he doesn't even know anything. He's just like, okay, get in the cell. And then it's like, okay. And he's polite and he's respectful. So you know what he does? He just gets in there and stays there. And then 9 months go by. And it's like, gee, I wonder if I should have heard something from someone by now. Are you fucking kidding me?
Where's his family at? Has nobody called? What's going on?
I don't think they may not know either. Some people don't know how this works, especially if they don't have experience in the justice system. If you don't have a rap sheet and you don't have somebody who's an attorney in the family, and you're not a family that's like used to crime, or like if you're not, you may not know. You would maybe think that, okay, I just wait for someone to tell me what to do or whatever, and think like, you know.
I heard a crazy story today. This guy was a judge, right? And he had one of his old friends from like high school and stuff, like somebody he grew up with, was like hanging out with a drug dealer. I don't know if he knew if he was a drug dealer at this point in time or not, but anyways, he had a warrant come through and he didn't sign it, read it or nothing, but he told his friend that guy had a warrant out. And then later on, he got charges from the FBI for like obstructing justice because he told his friend that his drug dealer dude had a warrant out. Well, it turns out that his friend was, unbeknownst to him, buying coke from that guy. And yeah, it was crazy. But like this judge dude, he was like, I did everything that you tell people not to do. I told them everything I did wrong. I agreed to everything. Like, it was kind of funny. But he ended up losing his judgeship and had to turn in his law license and stuff. Like, it was insane. He went to prison for a year.
Where you're at locally or what?
I don't even know where it was at. It was just a podcast, but it was interesting.
Gotcha. Okay, yeah.
It was just kind of funny because it was like a judge that it happened to, you know? And he went to prison and like had to fight people and shit. Like, it was just insane.
Yeah. Oh, see, now I'm just thinking back to that client I was talking about earlier, guys, the one who's the young kid who's going to federal prison next week. I'm just having flash. It's really, he's a little guy. He's a little guy. And like Scott was like, are you ready for prison? And he's like, no. And then he starts asking the hard questions that I'm like, oh my God. Like, he's asking the questions about like, are they going to like, you know, like, he's probably been Googling what happens to you in prison when you're a little, like, I just, dude, my heart just, it makes me really upset thinking about this. It's just, oh, I hate it. I hate it for people.
This might be the best thing that ever happened to that kid.
And that's the best that we can hope for, you know? And here's what I will say. That I don't know that anybody else would have fought for him the way that Scott did. And again, it's going to be a miracle. Whatever he gets, and we're going to find out next week, it's a miracle that it's going to be, it's again, we've already like cut it in half in terms of the guarantee for like the maximum time for the sentence. And like, you know, the thing is like, he came in after having like fucked up again and again. And like, I'll tell you what, there was a palpable moment where he came in, like, you know how I said yesterday I was there till like 7? He came in at like 5:30 yesterday. We're supposed to be closed and gone home. He comes in at like 5:30. And again, Scott's office is like a tornado. It's just piles and piles and piles of paper. And Scott's like reminded me of like the meme from It's Always Sunny, like the red yarn. Like, he's like that. He's like literally pulling his hair out. He's got all his law books out. He's trying to think, what else can I do to get the sentence reduced? And he's like literally pulling his hair out. And meanwhile, I'm kind of doing the same thing in my office because I'm trying to get all these files converted and like proofread this thing. And I'm like talking to the people on the phone and like literally, and we're both just like crazy people trying to get this done for him. And he comes in, and I think there was a moment where he saw that. And I was thinking about this today when I was driving home from work, and I was thinking about this, and I was thinking, you know, I wonder if ever there's times where there's these like defendants who just can't, you know, keep getting in their own way. And I ever wonder if there's a time where they're in custody and they appreciate that no one else could have ever have gotten them such a good deal. And like, they're going to get a second chance at life. And like, I wonder if they ever think to themselves, you know what, before I crime again, let me think about the people that did all they could and like above and beyond, and you know, just so that I could have a second chance. Like, I don't know, just if that makes any sense.
Probably
but, like,
rare.
But I don't know though, because like I have had some people call and kind of express that, but like I don't know, this kid, I feel like, and he's not even paid, Scott. Like, I don't, all fee. Anyways, it's just, you know, I think this kid, I think you're right, Twiz, that it might be the best thing that happened to him. That's what I have to hope for, you know? And like, if nothing else, like, you know, like, don't fuck it up. Cause like, even if you don't care, we worked really fucking hard to get you this deal. And like, you know what I mean? Like if you don't care about disappointing yourself, like, you know, don't disappoint us. You know what I mean? You know, if that makes sense. Kind of like, it's like, oh, you don't want your parents. Like if your parents are mad, that's one thing. But if your parents are disappointed, that's like the worst one. You know what I mean? So who are we talking about? We're talking about a client that, but I'm not given any type of details or whatever. It's him is, I think that it speaks to literally just, again, just like the dedication of the guys who I work for, and also just like, it's just an interesting thing to witness, you know, like I feel like I am dreading next week. Like I am dreading it as if I'm going to prison. You know what I mean? But that's just the type of person I am. Like, I'm literally imagining what his life is going to be like. And I'm like dreading it. And I'm like nervous for him. And like, I don't know. I'm like, I wish I could keep him from going at all. But like, if we can get, you know, 2 to 3 years, that'll be a miracle, you know? So anyways. It's hard when you know all the things, right? When that they're going to be facing and they don't know, you know?
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, however bad you think it is, you probably don't even know how bad it's really going to be. And I can't. Ugh.
Yeah, I think my buddy's going to get a nice lawsuit, though.
I hope so. He needs an attorney.
Yeah, Denise gave me a couple good ones to tell him to, so he's going to do it now.
Wait, does she know attorneys in Washington?
It's in Oregon, but
right.
She looked them up. She said she didn't know any, but she said they were highly rated in her network or something. So I don't know what that means, but I sent them over. So
okay. Yeah.
I'm like, that might be, you know, like you might get a mill or something. You know what I'm saying? It's not that bad.
Well, the more important thing right now is the criminal charge, the pending criminal charges. That's the more important thing.
Nah, that's nothing. There's nothing to
deal
worry
with that
about there.
first before you can have a lawsuit.
That's a joke.
What?
Not what you're saying. Like the criminal charge is a joke.
Oh, right. Well, yeah, that exactly. So then, but he still's going to need. He can't get that thrown out on his own. He needs an attorney.
Yeah, I know. That's what I told him. I mean, I told him that from day one, but he was doing his thing. So whatever. You can lead a horse to water. You can't make it drink.
That's so true.
But it was pretty funny.
You tell me, Plea.
Get an attorney. He's been to like the law library and stuff, like looking stuff up. And apparently in Oregon, unless it was an off-duty police officer that called it in, they shouldn't have been able to pull him over at all, is what he's saying. I don't really know if that's true, but like it sounds good, so.
Yeah, I wouldn't rely on it. Sounds good. I would rely on an attorney.
Well, you would think a cop would do that, right? Because somebody called in that he was driving slow and like all over the road, like 40 minutes before he even got pulled over. Like the cop didn't see him do anything wrong.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what the laws are in Oregon, but like, I mean, in terms of the traffic stops, I mean, I know from my own experience, I told y'all before, like when I lived in Boone, I was pulled over. There was like one road in Boone called King Street. And it's like, you'd be sitting there every day in traffic and it's just a 2-lane road, right? Stopped in traffic. And it was an everyday thing. And we always had orchestra rehearsal. We always got done at 6 o'clock. And it was like every time you knew you were going to be sitting there, not moving for like 45 minutes. And I literally, it was a daily thing. I would be stopped in traffic. We would be stopped in traffic. And if I knew if there was a cop car that just happened to be behind me, I knew that the way that traffic was stopped, I would just be stopped with the cop car. So literally, anytime that I was driving in Boone, if I was ever stopped, and there was a cop car behind me, I went ahead and got my license and registration out because I knew I was going to get pulled over. Asked me what I was getting pulled over for. Can't tell you.
What were you getting pulled over for?
I have no fucking idea. It was the bumper stickers, but that's not, I mean, they didn't have, in other words, they didn't have probable cause to do anything.
So freedom of speech? You're pulling me over for my free speech, bitch?
And you know, the thing is like whatever they'll do is they'll just like make something up like, oh, crossing over the line, you know, like I'm saying in general. But the thing is like, that's so funny when you're stopped in traffic because literally you can't actually have a moving violation. You can't have any type of violation. The only thing would be like if you have an expired registration, but I didn't have that. Why? Because I knew that like they're going to pull me over every day anyway for nothing. So like, you know, which is really funny because like now that I live here, don't tell anyone. I think my registration's been expired for like 3 years and no one even notices. But in Boone, I mean, it's just crazy the difference.
Well, when COVID happened, a lot of states like put stops on registrations and stuff.
Yeah.
But they probably don't now. So you might get in trouble someday. I don't know.
It's just nobody cares. It's like no one's like I could get in trouble, but nobody's noticing. So it's fine. Like there's just not the ratio of people to cops is not, you can't even compare the two between Boone and Greensboro. It's wild.
At least you know some attorneys.
Yeah,
Scott,
I know.
They
right?
pulled me over because my registration. Come see me.
It's just so funny because to think about what the wrath that would come for anyone. I don't care what. Like if I went to work and I'm like, yeah, guys, I got pulled over and I wrote whatever thing. The way that they would like just come for that officer and just get that shit thrown out, it would be really funny. I mean, because well, technically they know all that. They could just call the DA and be like, just drop. I mean, anyways, it's just funny. It definitely is a perk for sure. You know, not that that's, you know, I never even thought of it until now, but
my theory with cops today are they assume that we're bad people and we're going to kill them when we blink. So I'm just going to assume that they're a piece of shit like some of the other pieces of shits out there. Because I don't know. Yeah. Why do I have to assume the best for you, but you get to assume the worst of me?
That's so true. I got a really fucking funny story to tell you guys. I need to make a note here. This funny story about Scott and the parking tickets. It's like the funniest. It could be like the plot for like a funny TV show or something. It's really funny. I need to make a note. I'm writing it down. I'm losing my voice, guys. If you can't tell, it's going. I appreciate that Twiz has been here though, because I've lasted longer than usual. Parking ticket story.
Parking tickets.
And I do have an exhibit as well to go along with that one. So little teaser, we may end up being on the news over this story. We'll see.
Like on stream or
like on the news,
like
the
real world
people news type stuff. Like, you know, the news people that do the news.
Your law office or what?
Yeah, like over it's like basically this whole parking ticket thing is just, this is the funniest fucking story. I'll tell you guys on the next live stream. But like basically the results of this thing that is so funny, it could have like big results in terms of like the exposure just because of the craziness that this is even happening. And like, anyway, it's hard to explain it without explaining the whole thing, but you guys will see what I mean next time, because Scott is like done with the fuckery. Let me just put it that way. Scott's done with the fuckery. And so he's like, I'm not playing games anymore. Fuck around and find out. And like, we're going to get people involved and we're going to bring attention to this parking ticket thing. And like, it's entirely possible that they're going to have people come and like do like a segment on this whole parking.
I'm fed up with this world.
Exactly. So yeah. It's great. It's great. And apparently they also want to have like a photographer do like a photo shoot thing with me. And I'm like, oh my God, I hate getting my picture taken. But like to go on like the website, it's gonna be like all stylized and like whatever. And like I haven't had like a photo shoot with a professional since I was a little kid when I was forced into doing modeling against my will. And I was like, this is such a waste of time. I could be practicing. But like then I could take the money and go buy Abercrombie and Fitch. I'm sorry. Like
I like girls that wear Abercrombie and Fitch.
Exactly right. Yeah. So I remember even back then, like in second grade, like at Abercrombie and Fitch, the kids version, those like just basic t-shirts were like $40 back then. I can't even imagine what they are now. Crazy. I can't even
Abercrombie's not really around anymore.
Oh, is it?
There's like some big scandal where they were forcing like their models to like get raped and stuff.
Oh shit, I didn't know about that. That's really funny, Gretchen. I always, one thing I do remember from being a kid, I always thought it smelled really good in there. Do you guys remember that? Did you guys think it smelled? I always thought it smelled really good in there. The one anyway that I had never run to. Right, that one. That was always like
Is Aeropostale around? I was just thinking that too.
Interesting. And what was the other one? Oh, American Eagle. I actually don't mind American Eagle as much. Like
American Eagle is still around. I know that for a fact.
Okay. Their jeans actually are I like some of my favorite pairs of jeans over the years have been their jeans, but yeah.
I heard they had good girl jeans back in the day.
You did?
Yeah, that's like what my friends would say.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, no, I don't think I have any anymore, but I used to really like their jeans. I mean, who knows? If I go rummaging, I might even still have a pair somewhere. Hollister. I don't know that I've ever worn any Hollister. That was never as popular over here. I think that maybe is more of a West Coast thing. Flash, I think it probably depends on the jurisdiction and on the case. Civil versus criminal.
Where's Heather? Heather, get in here.
Yeah, there you
God
go. Ask
damn
Heather.
it.
Heather! Outside. Jeans are on point. I love jeans. You know what? I'm wearing jeans right now. You know why? I can wear whatever I want to work. Add it to the list of reasons why it's the best job on the planet.
I knew that would work.
There she is. Hilarious. So Heather, are Ohio docs free? Yeah, the Bird Power album. And that's the thing. I love birds, so that they had that going for them as well.
I think they should just upload all of the documents so we don't even have to FOIA them. If we can FOIA them, just let us fucking click on something.
For sure.
Are the docs free in Ohio? Read the chat. Jesus.
I fed up with his world.
I like you very much. Lover boy.
Oh, hello.
Yeah, remember it was Lisa saying that though. Just
Dude, Lisa was hot. Did you watch that movie?
I need to clip that. I should have clipped that because that was another. Lisa looks so hot tonight. Yeah, she looks great in her red dress. Oh my God, there's just a lot of them.
But does she got them red panties because they passed the test?
You know what? I think she's the type that doesn't even wear panties. Just saying.
Oh.
I think that's her thing. That's the fifth time. Fifth time for what?
Red panties.
What court? See, that's right. Asking the real questions. My first question was depends on the jurisdiction. What court? Let's go. Let's get this answered.
Hard as a rock,
freeze thaw effects on penetrometer resistance. You know, his head's as hard as a rock.
Your Honor, I can't do this in 2 minutes.
Friggin' Alessi.
I know. Wait, did we determine about the docks in Idaho or Iowa? Oh my God.
She said some courts do, some courts you have to request or something.
Okay, I didn't see that. Okay. Lucas County. Lucas?
Bloodshed.
It's too bad we can't listen to music. YouTube sucks.
I know, right? For real. We just have to sing it ourselves. DIY style.
Stupid YouTube.
You got the ball, I got the chain. You guys remember that song? Tie me up again.
I know the song you're talking about, but I don't know what it's called or anything.
Crash into me. That one. Dave Matthews Band.
We can't even listen to it.
I
hate
know.
YouTube.
Right, we have to just do it ourselves. There you go, Flash. Toledo, yeah, I think you have to pay. Thanks, Heather. You're the best.
I just don't know like songs that well. Why did you need anything from them before? Lucy Morningstar.
If that's even your
We're
real
on
name.
to you. Yeah, if that's even your
Yeah, well, that was a good one, huh? Wait, hold on. Wait, I got a response for that too. Hang on. hold on to it. Hold on.
Ha ha ha. You tell me, Plea.
Dying. Oh,
Question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark.
oh my God. We missed this one, Twiz. We missed it until
Question
now.
mark, question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark.
Amazing.
Lucy, what's a good name for Gretchen?
We love you, Kane. Don't go to bed. Hang out.
Wait,
with
what
us.
do you mean back to bed? The fuck? What's your local ongoing case?
Oh, Mir, I'm sorry. You can't find out shit about it. That's awful. Rat Daddy in the house. Rat Daddy. I was telling Super Planner Girl the origin story of the Rat Daddy, and she thought it was amazing. We love you, Super Planner Girl, Amanda. Rat Daddy. Rat Daddy. I think I'll pass on that one, Doug. But thank you.
No, you definitely should, Doug. Come on down.
Okay, guys, I'm gonna have to call it because I'm losing my voice and my throat's really hurting, and maybe I'll have a cough drop. But this was super fun. We will carry on. Maybe tomorrow we'll do another sesh. Get through some more pages. What do you guys think? Are y'all down for it? Are you guys up for it? Up for it or down for it? Either way.
Always up.
Sweet. Sweet. Down, down, bam, ba-da-dum, ba-da-da-da, da-da-da. What song is that?
Sweet, sweet baby.
That's
Da-da-da-da-da-da. It's Nelly.
Yeah, Nelly.
We're
Oh
going
my God.
down, baby.
Now, what's it called? Hold on. St. Louis, you can find me. St. Louis. Oh, what's the
It's
name? Oh my God, it's good over crazy. What's it called? St. Louis will London.
I want to say Country Grammar, but I think
Country
that's just the CD.
Oh,
Is that the song name? It might be.
I don't know. You can find me in St. Louis.
I wasn't gonna say it, Lucy.
Wait, what?
But I thought it.
Oh, what? What?
What?
What are you talking about?
What are you talking about?
What are you laughing at?
What are you laughing at?
Oh, I see. That's funny. Thank you, Doug. That's right. That's
Country
right.
grammar.
That's right. That's right. Cocoa, pass it to me now. Do it and pass it up. Pass it to me now. Yep.
I like the other song on that CD. That's really good.
Which one?
I don't know what it's called.
Well, we have to find out before I go. Freaking loved it. I loved Nelly back in the day. I mean, I still love Nelly. Who doesn't love Nelly?
You don't know?
Ride. Oh, yeah. Andale, mama.
No, that song's stupid.
You're stupid. I'm looking at the songs on there. Ride With Me was on there. Batter Up was on there. Don't get my channel taken down, Twiz.
Who gives a fuck? That's what he just said. I think that's the one that I like.
I'm looking at... You're going to get me in trouble, Twiz. Stop.
No, it won't get you in trouble.
Yeah, it will.
You could edit it out. It's fine.
No, then we lose the live chat replay. Oh my god. Twiz, what are you doing? What are you making sounds like that for?
It was the song. You couldn't hear the song?
No, I'm glad that I can't hear it better because I don't want to get my channel. Isn't
It was your EI song. You don't know it at the start where he's like,
I can't hear it. I thought it was hot shit. Or is that's the other one? Oh yeah, I remember this now. I haven't heard this before. Twiz. Okay, guys. Twiz. Lord. What are we gonna? You know what?
I need a drink.
Just kidding. Kidding.
I am not a hoe.
Not kidding.
Oi.
Okay, Twiz.
Balls.
Oh my god, that was so amazing. Anyways, y'all are the best. We love you guys. Thank you. Everyone say thank you to Twiz for being awesome and for coming on and doing Twiz Reads and for also doing all the songs and doing all the fun things. Everyone say thank you to Twiz. Thank you, Twiz. Everyone says hi, Twiz. Bye, Twiz.
What the hook gonna be? I don't need no fucking hook on this beat. It's Murphy Lee.
Oh, right.
Like the one song he did that was popular or something. I don't know.
Good night, Flash. Don't be grumpy. Miss Mojo's thanking you, Twiz. As they say in Russian, spasiba. You're welcome, guys. You're welcome. And on behalf of Twiz, he needs to do his workouts again. Workout time.
I worked out a couple days ago.
Oh, good. That's awesome. Well, there you go.
All I've been doing is like arm day. I'm skipping everything else, and it's been like that for like 3 weeks.
All right, y'all. Well, we will be back again tomorrow. Love you guys. Thanks for being awesome. Thanks for joining us. And everybody send all your positive vibes to Amanda, aka Super Planner Girl. And Twiz, any last words?
Good night.
Good night. And squirrel out. Squirrel out, my homies.